Chapter 381. Gucci said, "It's just that we can't enter for now. If we want to enter, we'll have to wait for us to come back and undo the seal." Afong, it's not that we want to seal the hidden space. It's just that there's no one left to guard it. The so-called no one left to guard it didn't refer to ordinary cultivators, but to the fact that there was no monarch left to guard it. This was a very dangerous situation for a hidden space. This time, it was clear that they had to gather the most power to go to the Dawn continent. Therefore, Feng Qinzong couldn't guard it. Even if he'd just become a monarch, he was still a monarch. He was much stronger than a ninth ring sage. It would be a waste for him to guard it. Soon, the short meeting ended. Wu Yang said, "Everyone, go back and prepare. In 10 days, the first group will depart for the Dawn continent." Everyone agreed and got up to leave. Lei Xingfeng returned home worriedly. Tiger Love, Mad Eagle, and Jean Dia were all waiting at home. When they saw Lei Xingfeng, they all stood up to greet him. Jean Dia said, "Afong, what's the matter?" Mad Eagle and Tiger Love also had curious expressions. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "Our hidden sect is going to move to a new place, the Dawn continent. Most of us will have to move there. We even have to seal the passage between the hidden space and the current world." Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all had shocked expressions. This decision was a bit scary. Mad Eagle sighed. "A great migration. I wonder what will happen in the future. There should be a special place in the Dawn continent." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "There are two important places. One is the Dawn continent, and the other is the Outer Realm. After arriving at the Dawn continent, going to the Outer Realm will be much easier. All you need is a monarch's hidden sect, not a Daelord's. In other words, even if you want to go to the Outer Realm in the future, it'll be easy." Jean Dia said, "This means it'll be harder for us to return to the hidden space." Lei Xingfeng was slightly startled. He had to admit that these words made sense. Because the Dawn continent was close to the Outer Realm, it meant that the Dawn continent was very far from here. He said, "Maybe I didn't ask. If the true immortal could come and go as he pleased, he probably wouldn't be so serious about it." Jean Dia said, "There will be a lot of things to do in the future. However, we don't have to worry too much about Afong. Not to mention the fact that you have the elders in front of you. You can still use the mirror realm. You didn't tell them that you have the mirror realm, right?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I didn't have time to tell you." Jean Dia pondered for a while and said, "Afong, let's not talk about it for now. It's best to wait until you become a true monarch." Mad Eagle said, "I agree." Tiger Love also said, "That's good." The black bird on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder said, "That's right, Jie." Lei Xingfeng said, "Well, that's good too. Don't show off your wealth. Wait until I become a true monarch. I'm almost ready." In fact, Lei Xingfeng had already met all the requirements to become a true monarch. It was just that he wanted to wait for the old man Thunderstorm to become a true monarch before considering the matter of promotion. He didn't know why, but he always felt that Thunderstorm could open up a new path for him to become a true monarch. Lei Xingfeng said, "I need everyone's help." Jean Dia said, "Afong, just say it. We'll help." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Find a way to find me, Yi. This time, we must bring him along. Send someone to find him." Jean Dia said, "Okay, I'll send someone to find him." Lei Xingfeng said, "Other than looking for Yi, send someone to Little Sister's secret sect. I know that they are going to the Dawn continent. Moreover, there are many experts in their secret sect. They shouldn't have sealed the secret space. If we can't find Yi, this is a passage that can let Yi go to the Dawn continent. We need to pass this information to Little Sister." Jean Dia nodded and said, "That's not a problem. Let Fatty go." Lei Xingfeng said, "Also collect food. a large amount of food and daily necessities. The Dawn continent, we don't know what's there. It's best to prepare ourselves first to avoid any awkwardness. Tiger Love said, leave this to me. Lei Xingfeng said, also, find me a large amount of refined metals. The mirror realm needs to be replenished. Because my cultivation isn't high enough, I can't produce steel humanoid beasts for now. However, I can repair the steel humanoid beasts in the mirror realm. There are a lot of them inside. After repairing them, they will be a great help to us when we go to the Dawn continent. In the mirror realm, many of the steel humanoid beasts were damaged. At least half of them were damaged. Even so, there were still a few hundred steel humanoid beasts in perfect condition. As long as they were replenished with energy, they could be activated. There were also other alien humanoid beasts, such as the giant metal spider. They were all left behind by the predecessors. If there were enough metals, Lei Xingfeng was confident that he could replenish 100 more steel humanoid beasts. Mad Eagle said, the newcomers have countless metals. It should be easy to get them. Leave this to me. Lei Xingfeng took out a bag and said, use the yin rings to exchange for metals. I believe we can get a lot of them. Yin rings were very valuable. They could be considered a hard currency, just like the gold and diamonds in Lei Xingfeng's previous life. Anyone would accept them. Mad Eagle took the bag and inspected it. He nodded and said, leave it to me. A few hundred yin rings were enough for him to use. He could exchange them for a large amount of metals, even rare metals. Lei Xingfeng said, right by some machines from the outsiders. Yes, excavating machines. I think they should have them. Mad Eagle nodded. No problem. I'll ask. If they have them, I'll definitely buy them. Lei Xingfeng quickly wrote a letter on a piece of beast skin. He waved his hand and called for a servant. Give it to the fatty in the kitchen. Forget it. Tell Jean Depang to come. The servant immediately nodded and ran to the back. A moment later, Jean Depang ran out again. He said, a phone, what's the matter? Lei Xingfeng handed him the letter. Go to my little sister's secret door and deliver this letter. Don't waste any time. Go now. Jean Dia said, find a sixth ring protector to take you there. You'll be in charge of showing the way. Jean Depang's face reddened. Yes, I'll go. He ran away in a sorry state. Xian Feng was startled, but he reacted quickly, immediately understanding the meaning behind Jean Dia's words. If he didn't have a sixth ring sage to carry him, Jean Depang would need some time to reach his sister's secret door. If he flew, it would be much faster. After all, walking and flying were two different concepts. The blackbird said indifferently, Old Fatty was humiliated again. Caw! Everyone was speechless. This bird's words were so piercing. This bird's tongue was even sharper than a human's. It usually didn't speak much, but once it did, if you took it seriously, you would be angered to death. No one paid any attention to the blackbird. Lei Xingfeng said, how many people are we bringing this time? Based on the scale, we might have to live on the Dawn continent for a long time. This is like moving. Most of us should go. Jean Dia said, that's up to Ishanel to decide. He's the head steward. Many things are handled by him. Calling Ishanel over, Lei Xingfeng gave a simple explanation. Finally, he asked, Head steward, you'll make the arrangements? Ishanel was silent for a moment, then said, I need to plan. I can't make a decision on the spot. This time, we need to mobilize many people. Also, we need to consider the cost. If we bring too many people, we'll need to spend a lot more yin rings. Lei Xingfeng said, you don't need to worry about how many people we bring. I need a group of people to farm and produce, even if it's a normal person. Ishan looked surprised. He didn't know that Lei Xingfeng had the mirror realm. He said, How much time do we have? Lei Xingfeng said, if it's short, we'll be there in a month. If it's long, 2 months. Maybe last month. Anyway, there should be enough time. The first group will leave in 10 days. We're the second group. There's still time to prepare. Ishan was a little worried. If we add normal people, how will they pass through the hidden door? Normal people entering a hidden door, especially a long-distance teleportation. How many of them will survive? Lei Xingfeng said, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. I guarantee that no one will die. Ishanel didn't know what to say. Only a large hidden door with a short distance could allow normal people to pass through. If it was a small hidden door, even if the distance was close, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Their bodies were too weak. Jean Dia said, Old Ai, you don't need to worry about that. A Feng has a way. Ishanel didn't hesitate anymore. He said, all right, if that's the case, I'll try my best to organize people. Since we're migrating, I'll move the villages together. At the same time, I'll recruit people from the outside to fill in the gaps. Xian Feng spoke. We need to buy more food, especially seeds. We need to prepare enough. Also, we need to prepare all kinds of meat, fish, prawns, and other animals. Ishanel was stunned. He couldn't help but say, how are we going to pass through the hidden door? Jean Dia said, don't worry about that. A Feng has a way to take them away. Ishanel didn't understand, but he didn't ask about it anymore. He knew that Lei Xingfeng wouldn't say anything. He stood up and said, all right, if that's the case, I'll take care of it. I'll report back in a few days. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, go. After Ishanel left, Jean Dia said, a Feng, you don't plan to let normal people pass, right? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, just leave them in the mirror realm. Why should we let them take the risk? Even if we go, there won't be many people in front of everyone. We don't know much about the situation now, so this is the only way. Jean Dia, Tiger Love, and Mad Eagle all understood that with the mirror realm, as long as Lei Xingfeng had complete control, their bloodline would be safe. Developing and strengthening would be no problem. The whole family was in chaos. All kinds of orders were given, and people were quickly mobilized. As time passed, all kinds of resources were collected. Most of the resources were brought back in the hidden Luan space. As for the livestock, they were all in the farm outside. Lei Xingfeng was also preparing. When groups of normal people arrived, he immediately sent them into the mirror realm. Chapter 382. The entire mirror realm was now covered in dark green. The trees were 2 to 3 meters tall, and there were several rivers. When ordinary people entered, the entire mirror realm was filled with vitality. A large number of livestock were brought into the mirror realm, as well as various construction materials. Some of the guards also entered the mirror realm. Of course, they did not know where they were going. Lei Xingfeng did not explain either. There were all kinds of methods and mysteries in this world, and not everyone could understand them. Only those who were close to Lei Xingfeng knew how powerful Lei Xingfeng was now. He was only in the next realm, but he had unparalleled strength. Of the normal people who entered the realm, there were people from the 4 villages that entered, each village having around 400 people, which was around 1,700 to 800 people that entered the realm. Many of them knew various skills such as construction, carpentry, and blacksmithing, as well as herding and farming. These were all people gathered from the outside world. Most of them were the family members of practitioners, people that relied on Xian Feng to survive. Cows, sheep, chickens, ducks, and animals from all over the world, such as blue sheep, could all be farmed. Some cultivators even organized people to dig a few huge ponds in the mirror realm to breed all kinds of fish and shrimps, reclaim wasteland, and grow food and vegetables. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, Jean Depang, Ishanel, and the others all left the secret treasure space. Their tasks were very complicated and had to be completed within a certain time limit. 10 days later, Lei Xingfeng also left the secret treasure space. Lei Xingfeng collected a large number of ancient trees from the barbarian gathering continent and transplanted them into the mirror realm. In addition, he also brought in a herd of bulls. Bulls were a good source of meat, and Lei Xingfeng's favorite food. He did not know when he would return, so he brought in a herd of bulls. There were about 300 of them. Lei Xingfeng's mission was to search for supplies and living creatures. Of course, it would be even better if he could find Elder Thunderstorm. However, he knew in his heart that this was basically impossible. This world was very big. Wanting to find a person was like looking for a needle in a haystack. This world had the barbarian gathering continent, the Wansi continent, the Ghana continent, and the Hui continent. It was quite rich in resources, but it had a big flaw. It was extremely lacking in materials and resources that cultivators needed. This was a good place for ordinary people to live, but it was definitely not a paradise for cultivators. If the secret sects did not have the means to go to the outside world, they would gradually decline. This great migration was also an opportunity for all cultivators. At the same time, it was also an opportunity for the secret sects to develop. Therefore, every cultivator who knew the actual situation would work hard to fight for it. Other than collecting living resources, Lei Xingfeng also took the scattered cultivators from the liaison offices with him. These were all cultivators who relied on him. As for the liaison offices, he did not abolish them. Instead, he appointed ordinary people to take up the posts. The Yin rings could be exchanged for large amounts of gold and silver rings, so there was no need to worry about money. Every liaison office had a large amount of funds. Their mission was to find children with potential for cultivation and send them to the designated office. There would still be people there to teach the children how to cultivate. When the children reached a certain level, they would then be recommended. In the future, even if Lei Xingfeng returned, it would be to take in new cultivators. Although the secret sects did not give up on this place, it was no longer important. After running around for dozens of days, he collected a large amount of supplies. Many of them were living creatures from animals to plants. All kinds of things were stored in the mirror world. There were many ordinary people in the mirror world. If he needed them to manage something, he just had to go in and say it. Lei Xingfeng also planted some pitch ebony. These were the seeds he collected in the past. He tried to plant them in the mirror world. There were many similar plants planted in the mirror world. Among them, he set up 2 special plantations to cultivate rare medicinal plants. Finally, Lei Xingfeng stopped. Time was running out. He used the ancient Luan passage and quickly returned to his secret space. When he returned to his courtyard, Jean Daya and the others were all waiting for him. Lei Xingfeng smiled and asked, "Is it done?" Jean Depang was the first to answer. A letter came. Lei Xiaomei's secret sect still has people guarding it. However, Lei Xiaomei has already gone to the Dawn continent. They promised to send the old man there when he returns. Lei Xingfeng let out a breath of relief and said happily, "That's great. Xiaomei's secret sect is stronger than ours. They have enough people to take turns. We can't do anything about it. We have too few people." Jean Depang nodded and said, "I heard that many secret sects will go there this time. They are all empty. Hee, I heard that many secret sects have closed. No one will stay here anymore." Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, Jean Daya, and Ishanel reported their completed missions. With such a long time, it was enough for them to complete these simple tasks. Xian Feng began to move the people and resources he had prepared into the mirror dimension, including the guards, servants, and apprentices. Clothing, food, shelter, and transportation were all built in the mirror world. Although the missions were not complicated, they were extremely trivial. Ishanel and Jean Depang also entered the mirror world. Only Jean Daya, Mad Eagle, Tiger Love, and the Black Bird remained. This guy refused to enter the mirror world. It liked to stand on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. It had a wide field of vision and was convenient for chatting. As long as Lei Xingfeng ate, it would eat as well. It would not give up such a precious place no matter what. Jean Daya said, "Afeng, you're only bringing the three of us?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yes, just the three of us. Including me, the four of us." Tiger Love smiled bitterly and said, "How do you explain the others?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "I don't need to explain, and I will tell the founder." Jean Daya said, "About the mirror world?" Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, "Let's not talk about the mirror world for now. Don't worry, just follow me. Don't worry about anything else." Mad Eagle said, "In any case, you appear and disappear mysteriously. And if you don't want to explain, then don't explain. As long as you can handle it, it's fine." He said irresponsibly. Lei Xingfeng said, "Is everyone ready?" Jean Daya and the rest nodded and followed Xian Feng out of the courtyard. There were only a few normal people guarding this house. After cleaning it up, it would be a long time before anyone would come to live here. When they arrived at Wu Yang's house, there were many people in the second group. Most of them were those who had requested to go after the first group. There were also a few direct disciples, including Tung Yuan, Miaoling Yuko, and Lei Xingfeng. The other disciples had already gone. The first group included the Gucci couple and Feng Qinzong's junior martial uncle. There were about 500 people in this group. Wu Yang's courtyard was filled with people. Lei Xingfeng led Jean Daya and the others in. The crowd immediately parted to form a path. Lei Xingfeng's position in the hidden sect was extremely high. No one in the courtyard had a higher position than him. Wu Yang had to use the sky divination crystal to open the door and enter the Dawn continent. Without it, even if he opened the door, he wouldn't be able to bear the cost of Yin rings. The Dawn continent was closer to the outer realm than the outer realm. With his sky divination crystal, he could barely open the door, but it would cost him a lot of Yin rings. With the sky divination crystal, it was much easier. This was also why so many people could be moved over. Almost half of the cultivators had already gone. Of course, there was still a limit to the number of people. They couldn't bring everyone. These people had to pay Wu Yang. Therefore, each disciple had to think about how many people to bring. If the number of people was small, the harvest in the Dawn continent would be small. The treasures on the ground would need people to pick them up. If there were no people, they could only watch others make a fortune. Bringing people over now was also a kind of investment. Lei Xingfeng observed and said, "They have to be enlightened masters with at least 3 rings or higher." Jean Daya said, "That's normal. There's a limit to the number of people, so we have to bring experts. Normal people don't have a chance." Wu Yang had already opened the door, and groups of people walked in. Lei Xingfeng led Jean Daya and the other 2 and cut the line. With his status, he didn't need to wait in line. Also, because of the opening of the door, Wu Yang still felt a certain amount of pressure. He didn't care at all and just kept urging, "Quick, quick, don't stop." Lei Xingfeng came to the door and nodded at Wu Yang. He walked through the door with Jean Daya and the other 2 following closely behind. Wu Yang was slightly surprised, but he didn't say anything. He found this precious disciple and brought them over. He didn't have time to think. He urged the people behind, "Hurry up, don't stop." Lei Xingfeng stepped out and quickly came out from the other side of the door. He saw Gucci smiling and saying, "Don't block the way. Hurry up." Gucci led Feng Qinzong, Yuko, and Xian Jiaoluan to personally welcome the people who came over. Lei Xingfeng quickly walked a few steps and saw Xian Jiaoluan standing to the side. He smiled and said, "Senior brother, what do you think of this place?" Xian Jiaoluan said, "Take a look for yourself. It's a very interesting place." Yuko had nothing to do and was looking at the people coming out of the door. He saw Lei Xingfeng talking to Xian Jiaoluan and immediately went over. He laughed and said, "Feng, why did you only bring 3 people?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Can I?" Yuko said, "Don't be so stingy with rings. It's inconvenient with so few people. We still have to build a house. No matter what, we have to bring all the guards. We're in the inner circle, so it's not a big problem. But if we go out without a certain number of guards, it'll be troublesome." Lei Xingfeng said, "What's so troublesome about it?" Yuko said, "There are natives everywhere outside. Hee, they're definitely not friendly. They kill as soon as they see them. There's no way to communicate with them. If you're not careful, you'll be surrounded. During this time, many sages from the various sects have died, including many ninth ring sages." Xian Jiaoluan said, "I heard that more than 39th ring sages have died. The sects have given orders not to go out if they're not confident." Yuko said with disdain, "This order is bullshit. There are so many good things out there. How can they stop people from going out?" Lei Xingfeng looked around. This was a forest. A large piece of land had been cleared out. There were very simple wooden houses and all kinds of tents. There was a river on the side of the land. They could see a mountain range in the distance. The mountain range was very tall. The peak was visible above the clouds. He said, "Holy shit, what mountain is that? Why is it so tall?" Chapter 383. Xian Jiaoluan said, "The sky-severing mountain range is a place where birds can't cross. There are great snow apes on the mountain. It's said that they're as strong as ninth ring sage. And the scariest thing about them is that they come in groups. It's a piece of cake for 100 of them to come out at once." Lei Xingfeng asked, "You've seen them before?" Xian Jiaoluan said, "How could I have? Maybe I'll go in the future, but not now. If I go, I'll be courting death." Jean Daya asked, "Are we staying here?" Xian Jiaoluan said, "No, we still have to walk a bit. Our base has a small mountain range in this direction." He pointed behind Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng turned around. Sure enough, there was a mountain range on the other side of the river, but the slope was very small. It was more like a hilly area, and there was also a dense forest. Mad Eagle exclaimed, "So, this is the Dawn Continent?" Xian Jiaoluan nodded. "Yes, we were also shocked when we first arrived. There are all kinds of materials in the forest, and some of them are precious herbs. It's said that there are all kinds of mineral resources buried underground." Lei Xingfeng looked carefully. Sure enough, there was a faint light on the ground. He couldn't see this in his hometown. However, Xian Feng quickly noticed that the light emitted from the ground was extremely faint, which meant that there was a mineral deposit underground, but it wasn't anything precious. After so many years of searching, he had long understood that only when there was an intense light or an intense colored light would it mean that there was something good. 2 hours later, Wu Yang appeared. He closed the secret door and said, "All right, we'll return in half a year. Everyone return to the base." Most of the cultivators who came were 6th ring sages and above, so they didn't need a ferry and flew directly to the base. Those who couldn't fly were pulled across the river by their companions. Because everyone had their own hidden Luan space, they all stored their things in it. A large group of people went back to the base empty-handed, chatting and laughing. The trees on the hillside had been cleared. Simple wooden houses were built on the hillside, and a small river flowed below. because Lei Xingfeng was a direct disciple. He was given a small mountain. It wasn't very big, just one mountain. Yu Ko, as the senior, purposely brought Lei Xingfeng to the mountain. He said, "This is for you." Lei Xingfeng pointed at the mountain. "This one." Yu said, "You can build a better house. If. Of course, it'll be in half a year." "Wait. Then you can build a better house. Of course, if you want to ask your senior brothers and sisters for help, you." Xingfeng, he didn't care at all. He had the mirror realm, so he didn't need to live on some mountain. He could enter the mirror realm at night. The construction had already begun. Inside the mirror realm, all of Lei Xingfeng's disciples were present. In addition, there were 1,600 ordinary people. The first thing to do was to build Lei Xingfeng's house. After so many days, it should be almost done. Currently, the number of steel dolls that had been repaired was close to 1,000. There were also hundreds of metal spiders. There were also some dolls for other purposes. For example, there were dolls for scouting. They looked similar to metal spiders, but were only the size of a fist. They were excellent for scouting and scouting. With the mirror realm, Lei Xingfeng's mobility, defense, and ability to dodge attacks were greatly enhanced. After Yu Ko left, Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Let's build the simplest wooden hut. At least we have a place to sit." He. Lei Xingfeng casually scattered a dozen or so dolls. The fist-sized metal spiders crawled all over the place. Jean Dia was dumbfounded. He didn't know there was such a thing. "What are these things?" he asked. Mad Eagle said, "They're very cute little things. They look like spiders. Their colors change according to the environment." Lei Xingfeng giggled. "These are good things. I found more than 200 of them. They can be used for scouting and warning. They're pretty good dolls. Well, to be more precise, they're dolls' bugs." Jean Dia and the other two squatted on the ground and studied the dolls for a while. They watched as the dolls' bugs quickly scattered into the forest. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "All right, let's build a wooden hut first. We'll do it ourselves. We have some ready-made ones. All we need to do is set them up." Jean Dia took out a few 5-meter-long wooden stakes. He flew into the air and stabbed them into the ground. Just like that, the 5-meter-long stakes were inserted more than a meter deep into the ground. Mad Eagle helped him erect the stakes. Jean Dia quickly pressed down on the top of the stakes and inserted them into the ground one by one. Then, the ready-made wooden hut was set up and fixed with steel nails. In about 10 minutes, a large wooden hut was completed. Then, a small wooden hut was quickly erected. Everything had been prepared beforehand. All they had to do was set it up. Tiger Love took out 2 large wooden tables and placed a few chairs. "Done. Don't tell anyone. We don't have a house to live in." Mad Eagle said, "Living in a wooden hut isn't a problem. It's not like we haven't lived outdoors before." Lei Xingfeng said, "Why wouldn't we live in a good place? Let's go." With a wave of his hand, the 4 of them disappeared and entered the mirror realm. Jean Dia looked at the almost completed house and laughed. "That's fast," Ishanel said. "It's almost done, but it's ready for people to live in." He didn't know that this was the mirror realm. The only thing he knew was that this place was similar to the secret chamber. Since Lei Xingfeng didn't say it explicitly, he didn't ask. Lei Xingfeng said, "Is everything arranged?" Ishanel said, "The manor is being built. It will be completed in about 10 days. Now, we're all living in tents. Fortunately, there's not much rain here, so we don't have to work too hard. The supplies are also well prepared." Jean Depang ran out and laughed. "Oh, you're finally here. This place is really good. I planted some vegetables, and they're growing very well. They're even better than the secret chamber." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Of course. Unfortunately, I'm still a sage, not a monarch. I can't fully control this thing. I can only accept it passively. I can't even open the secret door. Jean Depang said, It's okay, it's okay. I believe that a Feng will become a monarch soon. Jean Dia laughed. If a Feng becomes a monarch, a Feng's senior brothers and sisters will suffer. A Feng is the youngest junior brother. Hee hee. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love were excited. Mad Eagle said, We watched a Feng grow up. In the blink of an eye, a Feng will become a monarch and surpass us. Tiger Love said, This is why you can become a guard and a Feng can become a direct disciple. Our talents are too different. We can forget about becoming a monarch in this lifetime. However, I'm satisfied. It's worth it to follow a monarch for the rest of my life. Lei Xingfeng said, I'm not satisfied with becoming a monarch. I want to become a heaven monarch and then a Tao monarch in the future. Jean Dia and the others laughed. They were very confident that Lei Xingfeng would become a monarch. However, they weren't sure if he could become a heaven monarch, let alone a Tao monarch. That was too difficult. Wu Yang was still standing at the peak of the heaven monarch realm after so many years. No one knew when he could become a Tao monarch. The difficulty of this was unimaginable. However, the three praised Lei Xingfeng's confidence. Having a goal was better than not having one. Even if Lei Xingfeng couldn't reach it, it wasn't a big deal. Jean Depang said, Are you hungry? I'll go get something to eat. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. With Jean Depang around, he really didn't have to worry about food. This guy was always ready. He said, Okay, let's eat and leave. We'll go out and find out more about the situation. Jean Depang quickly prepared a table full of food. Everyone finished eating quickly. Blackbird also ate a plate of fresh meat. Lei Xingfeng and the others left the mirror realm and went to the wooden shed outside. Soon, there was a rustling sound on the ground. The little bug quickly crawled back. Lei Xingfeng quickly put it away and said, No one came. Jean Dia said, They're all busy with their own things. Of course, they don't have time to come. Lei Xingfeng said, Let's go. We'll go to the ancestral master's place to find out more about the situation. I didn't find anything special here. Although the resources here are rich, it's not amazing. Maybe it's different outside. Tiger Love said, A phone, you guys go? I'll wait here for you guys to come back. Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, You're alone. You might as well go back to the mirror realm. Tiger Love said, It's okay. I'll stay here for the time being to prevent others from occupying this place. Well, I'll go to other places when I have time. Maybe I can find some information. Lei Xingfeng thought about it and said, Okay, Uncle Jean, Uncle Ing, let's go. Jean Dia said, Okay, Old Ing, let's go together. The three of them quickly flew up and flew outside. Lei Xingfeng came to Gucci's residence. It was a 2-story wooden building by the river. There was a large wooden platform on the second floor. Although the construction was quite rough, it was big enough for dozens of people to gather without feeling crowded. Lei Xingfeng led Jean Dia and Mad Eagle to the platform. Gucci and Wu Yang were sitting on the platform. Xi and Zhaoluan and Qi Meiyan were also there. Seeing Lei Xingfeng land, Xi and Zhaoluan said with a smile, I was right. I knew junior brother would come. Jean Dia and Mad Eagle knew that they were not qualified to be on the platform. They bowed slightly and turned to land on the ground. There was a group of guards chatting there. The two of them could go and find out some information. Lei Xingfeng came to Xi and Zhaoluan's side and said with a smile, Grand Master, Master, senior brother, senior sister, senior brother. Wu Yang nodded. Gucci said with a smile, Sit. We just arrived here and everything is very simple, but we cultivators shouldn't care. This is just a place for us to stay. In the future, we will occupy the places we need. For now, we still need the protection of the restrictions here. Lei Xingfeng said, Master, how long will we stay here? Are we not going back? We won't go back for now, Gu Qi said. After your grandmaster and I advance, we'll open up our own territory. This is a primitive desert, but it has countless treasures. This is a chance for the hidden sect to develop. If we don't grab hold of it, we'll be eliminated quickly. Also, you brothers have to hurry up and advance as well. Ninth Ring Sage, your strength is still far from enough. You have to at least become a monarch to be able to move freely. Chapter 384. Wu Yang said, the place we're really exploring is not the Dawn continent, but the extraterritorial starry sky. Only those with the strength of a true monarch can enter the extraterritorial starry sky from here. Therefore, the extraterritorial starry sky is the place we're really looking for. Lei Xingfeng was puzzled. Are we looking for resources first? Wu Yang shook his head. No, actually, we have enough resources. Do you know what we're really lacking? Xian Jiaoluan asked. What? Wu Yang said, cultivation methods, weapon refinement, restriction formation, and usage. We're lacking a lot. The extraterritorial starry sky is a huge treasure trove, especially the various forbidden areas. There are all kinds of things we need there. It depends on whether we have the ability to obtain them. Gucci sighed. After a while, he said, it's too dangerous. Wu Yang said, of course it's dangerous. How can it not be dangerous? It's because it's dangerous that we have to work hard to enter. Even if we die, I don't care. Gucci said, Master, I know how you feel, but it's better for us to remain cautious. I know that there are countless good things in the forbidden areas, especially the great forbidden areas. However, we need strength. Before you become a Dao monarch, it's really not suitable for us to enter the great forbidden areas. The truly good things were all in the forbidden grounds. This was something that only the higher-ups of the secret sect knew. Even Xian Feng knew, but it was extremely difficult to obtain them. It wasn't just empty talk. One had to take the risk with real swords and spears, and if one wasn't careful, one might die or be trapped inside. Wu Yang sighed and said, I understand, but time waits for no one. If our secret sects don't develop, we'll be completely finished. Xian Jiaoluan said, no way. Although our secret sects aren't the strongest, we're not weak either. Lei Xingfeng also nodded. Yes, Founder, we're not weak. Wu Yang looked into the distance. After a while, he said faintly, did you know? A Dao monarch ancestor of the secret sects broke through and entered a realm that even I don't know. It's very terrifying. He obtained the cultivation method from the great forbidden areas. Everyone was shocked. A Dao monarch was already an unattainable existence. What realm was he in breaking through to? It sounded terrifying. Wu Yang said, this place was contributed by that terrifying expert. He said that he shared this place with the secret sections and collected all materials and ores. And, if we can find what he needs, he will provide us with a very special item that can rapidly increase our strength. Xian Feng reacted quickly. Something like the Yin Ring. Wu Yang revealed a look of admiration. Yes, it's called a holy ring. A holy ring is enough for a ninth ring sage to become a monarch. It also ignores one's aptitude. Of course, it's only effective once. If we use it, we can increase our strength, but we can't overcome the difference in realms. In other words, I can't become a Dao monarch with the holy ring. Ignoring one's aptitude, this thing was simply too heaven-defying. Lei Xingfeng laughed bitterly. This makes us. How can we endure this? Sigh. I worked so hard to gather so many materials and made countless preparations, but a holy ring solved everything. This is too much. Wu Yang said, No, it's not the same. You definitely can't use the holy ring. You have to rely on your own strength to ascend. Otherwise, your potential will be exhausted. It's similar to the yin ring. Although your strength increases quickly, it has a great impact on your body. Moreover, holy rings aren't that easy to obtain. Lei Xingfeng said, "What's above Tao, monarch? A divine monarch?" Wu Yang said, "No, they can't be considered gods. At most, they're saints. A divine monarch? I don't know either. There doesn't seem to be a unified name yet. Only one person has ascended to this level. Currently, as far as I know, there isn't a second person who has ascended to this level." A hint of excitement and anticipation appeared on his face. Lei Xingfeng said, "I think the hidden sex patriarchs are going crazy." Wu Yang and Gucci both laughed. Wu Yang nodded and said, "Isn't that so? Even if that person ascends to a new level, he can't hide the truth from everyone. This is what everyone agrees. After all, he's just ascended. Even if he's stronger than Tao monarchs and can fight 2 or 3 of them, he definitely won't be able to defeat 5 or 6 of them." Lei Xingfeng said, "He just doesn't have the time. If he did, he might be able to defeat 5 or 6 Tao monarch patriarchs." Wu Yang said, "That's why I'm anxious. That's why most of our hidden sects migrated here. Everyone knows that if we can't reach this level, we'll be eliminated and marginalized. We have to keep up to survive." Xian Zhaoluan, Qi Meiyun, and Lei Xingfeng didn't look too good. This wasn't just talk. It required action and results. Lei Xingfeng finally understood why so many hidden sects migrated and why the higher-ups of the hidden sects were so uneasy. If they didn't advance, they would be eliminated. For the hidden sects, this was a reshuffling of the cards. Lei Xingfeng's hidden sect was originally slightly inferior to the top hidden sects because they lacked a Tao monarch to oversee their hidden sect. It wasn't that their hidden sect didn't have a Tao monarch, but Wu Yang's master had long disappeared. Even if Wu Yang successfully ascended this time, Wu Yang's hidden sect was still not a top hidden sect due to the appearance of cultivators more powerful than Tao monarchs. This sense of crisis filled the hearts of the hidden sect's disciples, and the higher-ups of the hidden sects felt even more threatened. Wu Yang said, "Everyone, hurry up. We'll use this time to build our hidden sects camp. In addition, we need to prepare our manpower and head to the outer realms soon. Even if we don't explore the forbidden areas, we need to familiarize ourselves with the outer realms and establish a bridgehead, an outpost. We need to be prepared." Lei Xingfeng wasn't surprised. Wu Yang's logic was simple. The Dawn continent wasn't important. The reason they migrated to this continent was because it was easy to enter the outer realms. Originally, the threshold to enter the outer realms was too high. It required a Tao monarch's hidden sect and countless yin rings. Even a heavenly monarch wouldn't be able to afford this amount of yin rings. Now that he had the coordinates of the Dawn continent, Wu Yang had a springboard that would allow him to smoothly enter the outer realms. This was what he truly needed. As for the rich resources of the Dawn continent, Wu Yang didn't care about them at all. After all, no matter how many precious resources there were, if you couldn't use them, then they were nothing. Wu Yang saw this very clearly. Therefore, Wu Yang didn't even mention leaving the safe zone. Even if it cost a lot of yin rings to stay here, Wu Yang wouldn't lose out. Most importantly, if they could obtain a cultivation technique from the extraterritorial starry sky, then everything would be worth it. Therefore, from the very beginning, the Dawn continent wasn't Wu Yang and Gu Qi's goal. The extraterritorial starry skies, great forbidden land, was their goal. Wu Yang said, "All right, you guys are dismissed. Afeng, stay." Xian Zhaoluan and Qi Meiyun were already used to their ancestors' favoritism. The corners of their mouths twitched. Then they left the platform and returned to their respective residences. Gucci said, "A Feng, why did you only bring 3 people this time?" Lei Xingfeng didn't expect to be noticed by the elders. He said, "There are quite a few people." He was conflicted. Should he tell his master and ancestor that he had obtained the mirror realm? Lei Xingfeng's education in his past life made him very cautious. He knew that when the benefits reached a certain level, who knew what would happen? This was especially true when the other party was much stronger than him. Although he was very close to his master and ancestor, he still didn't dare to try. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare test his master and ancestor's character. If he failed, then it wouldn't just be a matter of heartbreak. Gritting his teeth, Lei Xingfeng swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Wu Yang said, "This time, I'm going to build an outpost in outer space. Come with me. I'll bring some people with me." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "No problem. Just me?" Wu Yang smiled. "There's no limit this time." "Haha, I'll bring Feng Qinzong and you Ko. There'll be about 100 people." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "All right. If you want to go, then call me." "Yes, I'll bring Uncle Jean and the others." Wu Yang said, "All right, then that's it. You go build your own residence. If you don't have enough people, then ask your seniors for help." Lei Xingfeng smiled. "No need. I've already built it." Gucci was shocked. "That's fast. You just arrived. How can you be so fast?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I've already built it. I just need to put it together. It's already made. Plus, I'm just building a simple residence. There's no need to make such a big fuss." Gucci smiled. "Smart. Go. When the time comes, we'll leave. Rest for a few days." Lei Xingfeng stood up and said goodbye. After saying goodbye, Lei Xingfeng brought Jean Daya and Mad Eagle back to the small mountain where they lived. Sitting down in the wooden hut, Lei Xingfeng sighed. Jean Daya said, "Afong, what's wrong?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I hid the fact that I obtained the mirror realm." Jean Daya nodded. "Yes, I understand." Mad Eagle said, "That means you have to reach Monarch as soon as possible. Otherwise, it'll be difficult." Tiger Love said, "Yes, only by controlling the mirror realm can I not be afraid of telling others." Lei Xingfeng was distressed, but he still insisted on hiding it. He didn't dare to challenge the bottom line of his elders. The mirror realm could be plundered. As long as one reached Monarch, it couldn't be plundered. The use of the mirror realm was too great, especially in the exploration of the Great Forbidden Land. Simply put, most of the experts who entered the Great Forbidden Land were not killed by the restrictions, but were trapped to death by the restrictions. With the mirror realm, no restrictions could trap them. They could leave and stay as they wished. They could even return to the same place repeatedly. Jean Daya said, "If you want to advance, I think it's better to go back. There's no stamp here." Xian Feng shook his head. He was greatly influenced by the old man Lei Bao. He agreed with the old man Lei Bao's philosophy. That was the best place for lightning-attributed practitioners to level up was in a thunderstorm. Relying on the natural large thunderstorm, leveling up should be easier. Chapter 385. The materials had been prepared and refined, ready to be used at any time. He also had an idea of how to advance, but Lei Xingfeng wasn't sure. He had seen Feng Qinzong advance, and it was extremely difficult. He didn't know what it would be like when he advanced. Xian Feng sighed. To find a large thunderstorm, it's best if it lasts for a long time. That's too hard. Jean Daya laughed. "Don't worry, there will always be one." Mad Eagle said, "That's true. I'm just King curious. It's really hard to find a thunderstorm weather, but I always feel that if we don't look for it, it will appear at any time." He had once accompanied Lei Xingfeng to find a thunderstorm weather. It was really difficult. Tiger Love also said, Yeah, in my life, I've seen countless thunderstorms, but ever since I met a Feng, I rarely see one. Strange. A Feng, do you have a grudge against thunderstorms? Xian Feng also felt that it was funny, not counting his previous life. In this life, in order to find a suitable thunderstorm day, he had gone to many places, but there were very few that satisfied him. However, even so, he had quickly become a ninth-ringed true sage. If he had trained normally, he would at most be a third or fourth-ringed true sage, and definitely wouldn't have reached his current level. So, finding a thunderstorm had always been Lei Xingfeng's wish. Unfortunately, even if he saw a thunderstorm or natural lightning, it would be difficult for him to use it. Because he was now a ninth-ring sage, normal thunderstorm weather was useless. What he needed was a thunderstorm weather for a long time. Only then could he absorb it and advance. Lei Xingfeng understood the danger. If he thought it was a thunderstorm weather, and the thunderstorm suddenly stopped at a critical moment, then he would be caught unprepared. He might even die without a burial place. So, he absolutely needed time to observe and not rush to advance. Jean Dia said, Don't worry too much. There's always a way. Mad Eagle also comforted him. Yeah, the more places you go, the more you know. You can always find a suitable place to advance. Although it's a bit difficult, it won't make you despair. Lei Xingfeng agreed. Yeah, I believe there's such a place. It's just that we don't know about it. It will appear. He could still vaguely remember that there was a place in his previous life where lightning flashed and thunder rumbled frequently. He did not believe that he would not be able to find such a place in this life. One had to know that the places he could go now were much more than in his previous life. This was not just one world. Blacks also said, There'll be thunder. I'm confident. This sentence immediately made the three of them laugh, and the oppressive atmosphere was swept away. The blackbird said resentfully, What are you laughing at? Am I wrong? Gah. Xian Feng laughed. Right, you're right. I'll take advantage of your auspicious words. I hope I can find such a treasure land where the thunderstorms will never stop. Blackbird raised his head and shouted, Thunder! Thunder! Gaga! Everyone was speechless. After a while, Lei Xingfeng said, That's enough thunder. He thought, This bird is crazy sometimes. Jean Dia said, You can't go in when there's a real thunderstorm. With your small body, you'll be struck to death by lightning. Blacks was very unconvinced. Nonsense. Gah, I'm powerful. You can't imagine it. This bird is a rare lightning attribute bird. How can it be struck to death by lightning? Don't think before you speak. I despise you. Gah. Jean Dia was never a match for blacks, except for Lei Xingfeng, who could suppress it. Anyone who bickered with blacks would eventually lose. There was no other way. You can't take a bird seriously. Regardless of whether you win or lose, it's not glorious. Seeing that blacks was about to start again, Jean Dia raised his hand. Okay, you're good. Very good. Blacks was just about to spit out a large amount of venom. In the end, the opponent directly admitted defeat. It was so stifled that it jumped on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. Why didn't he let the bird show off? This Jean Dia was too bad. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love couldn't stop laughing. For some reason, Jean Dia and Jean Depang especially liked to provoke blacks. Moreover, blacks especially fond of attacking the two of them. It was really poisonous. It often made Jean Dia and Jean Depang speechless. Jean Dia had a psychological shadow. Once Black's saliva started to spit, he would immediately admit defeat. He realized that this was the only way to make Blacks unhappy. Blacks extremely unhappy. It was so anxious that it stomped its feet. It wanted Jean Dia to talk back so that it could freely spit at Jean Dia. In fact, it didn't care about winning or losing. It just wanted to have a channel to vent. However, Jean Dia's admission of defeat made it extremely unhappy. Blacks anxiously said, "Gah, you are too bad. Gah, you can't play with birds like this." Uffed, uffed. Lei Xingfeng and Mad Eagle couldn't hold back and suddenly burst out laughing. Play with birds? Wasn't it just playing with birds? Jean Dia was very aggrieved. "Bird Bud, I've already admitted defeat. Don't pester me. We have a good relationship, right?" He tried to get closer to Blacks. Blacks stifled jumped on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and suddenly said, You, shameless, you are despicable, Gah, you are too bad. You bully birds. You play with birds." Jean Dia turned and walked away. "What's so fun about you? What's there to bully?" Lei Xingfeng, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love were all laughing. This Blacks was too funny. Blacks also knew that it was absolutely impossible to continue spitting saliva today. It said, "Depressed, boring, gah, they are all bad people." Bullying birds. After it finished speaking, it hid its head in its wings. This was its usual practice. As long as it hid its head in its wings, all its troubles would vanish. Lei Xingfeng sat in a daze. The pressure of advancing had never been so great. This made him very irritable and uneasy. In order to not let Lei Xingfeng think too much, Jean Dia changed the topic and said, "Right, what are the natives outside the Dawn continent called?" Lei Xingfeng said, "The Antari. Brown skin, white hair, thin and weak. Their methods are unknown. They are very strong and cannot be communicated with. They kill on sight. This is the only impression I have. Of course, this is what the ancestors said. I have never seen it with my own eyes." Jean Dia said, "Yes, I heard that there are many of them." Lei Xingfeng said, "Yes, but we don't have to face them for now. We will go to outer space soon." Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love's jaws dropped. They didn't know that Wu Yang wanted to take Lei Xingfeng to outer space. This place also attracted the three. The reason why Ninth Ring sages couldn't go was because of the danger, but also because they couldn't afford to spend rings. The cost was too great. It wasn't something a Ninth Ring sage could bear. After a while, Mad Eagle said, "Really? Why are we going to outer space all of a sudden?" Lei Xingfeng said, "The ancestors' orders." "Yes, the ancestors are going to. It is to build an outpost." Jean Dia still didn't believe it. He said, "We're going to?" Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Let's go together." Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all cheered. The black bird couldn't help but stick its head out and say, "Don't be so surprised, country bumpkin." Lei Xingfeng said, "Holy shit, Bud, who taught you to say all this? Country bumpkin?" Sigh. He didn't know what to say. The black bird combed Lei Xingfeng's hair and said flatteringly, "It's all because you taught me well, sir." Caw-caw. It's just a subtle influence, caw-caw. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. He said, "When did I teach you all this? Why didn't I know?" The black bird laughed dryly and quickly hid its head in its wings. What else could it say? Playing dead was the only way out. Jean Dia laughed bitterly. "I'm really a country bumpkin. Ha! Bud has been to outer space. We've only heard about it." They were despised by a bird, but Jean Dia and the other two had long been used to it. If the black bird said something good, then it most likely had something to ask, or it was its rice master. Otherwise, there would be no good words coming out of its mouth. At first, when Lei Xingfeng adopted the blackbird, it was fine. As time passed, the blackbird's performance became more and more despicable. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ignore it, it's a despicable bird." The blackbird moved its body, but its head was still hidden under its wings. In fact, it wanted to refute, but its boss had spoken. It had no choice but to swallow its anger. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all nodded fiercely. They agreed with Lei Xingfeng's words. The blackbird was despicable. It was definitely a despicable bird. The blackbird was depressed. It could only say a few words to bully birds in its heart. Lei Xingfeng said, "The outer space is very big. I don't know where we landed this time. Fortunately, the founder is here. It shouldn't be a big problem." Jean Dia said, "We're going to outer space. Other than building an outpost, what else can we do?" Lei Xingfeng laughed. "That I don't know. I guess we'll have to go to the forbidden area, but I guess you can only defend the outpost. You probably won't be able to join the exploration activities." Jean Dia, Tiger Love, and Mad Eagle's faces suddenly turned bitter. If they couldn't join the operation, what was the point of going? Lei Xingfeng laughed. "It's good to see it. As for the Dawn continent, after I advance, it'll be enough for us to explore. And I can take you with me." Jean Dia nodded. "Okay, you're the master. You have the final say." Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go back to the mirror realm first." There wasn't much to do outside, but there were many things that required his command inside the mirror realm. Jean Dia and the other two nodded and followed Lei Xingfeng into the mirror realm. A few days later, Wu Yang gathered Feng Qinzong, Yu Ko, and Lei Xingfeng. There were also more than 100 sages. Even the weakest of them had sixth ring sages. This was equivalent to taking an eighth of the camp's manpower. Only the Gucci couple and the other disciples of the secret sects were left at the camp on the Dawn continent. This time, 2 secret gates were opened. Wu Yang and Feng Qinzong both opened their gates. The two of them used the same coordinates, so even if there was a gap, it wouldn't be too far. The gate opened. Wu Yang said, "Let's go." At a certain point in outer space, less than a kilometer apart, 2 secret gates appeared at the same time. The illusory gate appeared abruptly. It was about 2 meters above the ground. As the illusory gate gradually solidified, a figure appeared in the gate frame. Chapter 386. More and more people came out of the secret doors. It took a few minutes for more than 100 people to come out of the 2 doors. Soon, the doors disappeared. Lei Xingfeng looked around and said, "Grand Master, this isn't where we came last time." Wu Yang nodded. "I spent a lot of materials to get this set of coordinates. This is a very safe place. Of course, we won't build an outpost here. We need to find our own secret door opening point. We won't be using this place in the future." Feng Qinzong said, "Master, where should we go?" Wu Yang took out a star python record and looked at it carefully. "North." Try not to fly here. It's too dangerous. If we accidentally run into a forbidden area, we'll be in big trouble. We'll walk." Feng Qinzong agreed. He was now second only to Wu Yang, so he was the one in command. The one assisting him was AI-8. These 100 people could be considered the elites of Wu Yang's secret door. The weakest was a 6th ring sage, and they could all fly. Their strength wasn't too bad. At least if they encountered an ambush, they could defend themselves. They weren't like low-level cultivators who couldn't fight back at all. A few 9th ring sages led the way. According to Wu Yang's instructions, they cut through all obstacles. There was no road here, nor were there any traces left by intelligent life. It was a very primitive environment. Even if there were traces left by humans, they would be covered by dense trees and weeds. The 2 9th ring sages at the front each had a giant 3-meter-long machete. According to Lei Xingfeng's understanding, this was a large green dragon crescent blade. Of course, it wasn't as beautiful as the green dragon crescent blade. It was just a steel rod with a rectangular steel bar in front and a blade on one side. This wasn't a weapon for fighting. It was just a machete for clearing a path. It was also a tool for cutting wood. This was different from the tools Lei Xingfeng used to cut trees in his previous life. The cultivators here were too strong. Without a certain level of strength, it was impossible to wield a machete that weighed more than 100 kilograms. This kind of machete was nothing to a ninth ring sage. With a sweep of the machete, even a tree as thick as a bucket would be cut in half. The two ninth ring sages swept the trees back and forth with their machetes. They were extremely fast, equivalent to a normal person walking at a brisk pace. After about half an hour, another two ninth ring sages came forward, took the machetes, and continued forward. This was a flat plain. Even if there were ups and downs, they were only small hills. What entered his eyes was a sea of greenery, filled with dense vegetation. Xi and Feng would enter the forest from time to time, quickly digging up one or a few plants, all of which were rather precious herbs. Ever since he had obtained the star python record from his sister's secret sect, his knowledge of plants had greatly improved. Now that Xi and Feng could differentiate between large amounts of plants, adding on his pair of mystical eyes, he was able to continuously obtain rare plants. Lei Xingfeng darted out of the group from time to time. Next to him, Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love were on guard. They went back and forth countless times. Finally, Wu Yang followed and found Lei Xingfeng digging up plants. Lacquered phoenix nest. Wu Yang saw the precious spirit plant Lei Xingfeng was digging up. He was very surprised because this lacquered phoenix nest was more than 200 meters away from the group. It grew under a few trees and was covered up tightly. If not for the trees, it would be impossible to see it. Lei Xingfeng grinned. Little sister wanted this spirit plant. Wu Yang asked curiously, "How did you find it?" Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to say that he saw the treasure light. He smiled. "I felt there was something good, so I came to take a look. Sure enough, I found it." These words were definitely nonsense. Wu Yang knew in his heart, but didn't expose him. He smiled and said, "How mystical." "Ah, Feng, with such a mystical feeling, you will definitely strike it rich in the outer realm." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Of course, I like to be rich, hee hee." Wu Yang said, "Be careful when you dig. Don't fall behind." Then he turned and left. Lei Xingfeng said, "Yes, Grandmaster, I will be careful. Someone is on guard." After digging up the lacquered phoenix nest, he threw it into the mirror dimension. There were people there who took care of the spirit plants and quickly planted them. After Lei Xingfeng obtained the mirror dimension, all the rare plants he obtained were transplanted. Therefore, the spirit plants he dug up were different from before. No matter if they were mature or not, he would replant them in the mirror dimension. After walking for 3 days, they encountered a gigantic trench. This was a gigantic fissure that was several hundred meters wide, and it was impossible to see its depths. There was even a white mist floating below, and it was emitting a strange whistling sound. This fissure stretched from east to west, extending to both sides. It was unknown how long it was, how deep it was, or how it was formed. Feng Chenzong said, "One of you go and try flying through this fissure." A sixth ring sage came to the edge of the fissure. His face was pale. If this was his hometown, he wouldn't be afraid and would have already flown over. But here he was terrified. No wonder the outer space was said to be extremely dangerous. Of course he would be afraid. After all, he had walked all the way here. Even the hidden sect's ancestors didn't dare to fly. His entire body flickered with brilliance. That was the greatest protection he could provide. Moreover, he also sent out his own seal. This guy was the most common fire seal. He directly placed it on top of his head, and a scarlet curtain of light hung down to protect his body. The crimson curtain of light formed by the fire seal was like a water droplet. The top was sharp, and the bottom was round. If this defense was broken, Then even if he didn't die, he would be half dead, especially since he was a sixth ring sage. He had only just formed his seal and wasn't a true high-level sage yet. Wu Yang shook his head and raised his hand to form a layer of defense. Don't worry. I'm here. Even if there's danger, I can save you. Only then did the man relax and say, yes. He suddenly flew up from the edge of the fissure and madly flew to the other side. His speed was obviously his greatest ability. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but shake his head. This idiot. He's not holding back at all. Flying at full speed. This isn't good. Jean Dia said, what's not good about it? He just wants to get to the other side as soon as possible. Lei Xingfeng said, if it were me, I would at least hold back 30% of my strength. I definitely wouldn't fly at full speed because he doesn't have any flexibility. Once there's a change, he won't be able to deal with it. In just a few seconds, that person had already reached the middle of the fissure. He estimated that in a few more seconds, he would be able to cross it. It was as if there was an invisible suction force. When he reached the middle of the fissure, he suddenly stopped. His entire body was like a statue, unable to move. Then it was as if there was an invisible rope tied to his feet. Whoosh! He fell straight down. His speed was too fast. In less than a second, he disappeared. Lei Xingfeng heard a hurried shout. However, in a very short time, he lost everything in an instant. Everyone at the fissure was dumbfounded. Even Wu Yang, who was prepared, couldn't save him in time. Feng Chenzong said in horror, what the F***CK is this? That man was his subordinate. Although he wasn't a guard, he was still a member of his family. Almost everyone's expression changed. This was different from a battle between humans and beasts. You couldn't find the enemy at all. Everyone took a few steps back. Wu Yang said, we can't go over here. We'll follow the fissure to the east. There was no discussion about rescuing. In this kind of place, there was no such thing as rescuing. Protecting the others was the right thing to do. As the leader, Wu Yang decisively gave up. He knew that it was normal for dozens of people to die for one person. Lei Xingfeng also understood this, but he felt a little uncomfortable. However, he wisely didn't say anything. At this time, as a direct descendant, no matter what decision Wu Yang made, even if it was unreasonable, he had to support it. Moreover, he also agreed with this kind of giving up. His discomfort was only caused by some strange ideas from his previous life. Jean Dia saw that Lei Xingfeng's expression wasn't good. He tried to persuade him. There's no other way. In this kind of place, luck is more important. Wu Yang glanced at Lei Xingfeng. He didn't try to persuade him. He just silently walked towards the east. After walking for about 8 days, they found a narrow place. It was only about 40 meters wide. Wu Yang didn't send anyone to explore this time. Instead, he said, send a few people, cut down a giant tree, and put it on top of the bridge. I don't believe that we can't cross. Immediately, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Anyone could go and explore. There were all kinds of people who died here. It was possible to not even see the body, just like the person last time. No one knew if he was alive or dead. They only knew that he fell, and no one dared to go down to investigate. Soon, a giant tree about 100 meters tall was cut down. It was quickly carried over by a few people and erected on the shore. Then, together, they pushed it towards the opposite shore. The tree fell with a loud crash and was instantly placed on the opposite shore. This formed a tree bridge. To everyone's surprise, the tree bridge didn't break. It looked very sturdy. Feng Chenzong said, "Who's first?" Almost everyone took a step back. Lei Xingfeng bitterly smiled. "I'll go." Jean Dia grabbed him. "I'll go." Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, I'll follow behind you." As he spoke, He gave Jean Dia a look. The effective range of his mirror realm was about 10 to 20 meters. As long as he was within range, no matter what danger Jean Dia encountered, he was confident that he could pull him into his mirror realm. Jean Dia reacted quickly. He immediately understood Lei Xingfeng's meaning. I'll slow down. Feng, don't follow too closely. Wu Yang didn't stop him. He glanced at Feng Qinzong. That chill made Feng Qinzong quite uncomfortable. Since Lei Xingfeng's subordinate was willing to go first, he had no reason to stop him. He regretted it. He might as well find someone else and give the order directly. Looking at the situation, the founder was very dissatisfied. Jean Dia walked directly onto the tree bridge and carefully walked forward. He also activated all his defenses and released his seal. This was something he had to do. It had nothing to do with being afraid of death. Chapter 387. Xianfeng also released his lightning stamp, his entire body flickering with lightning as he followed behind Jean Dia about 10 meters away, moving forward step by step. Wu Yang also followed. He stood 10 meters behind Lei Xingfeng. At this distance, if there was any danger, he was confident that he could drag Lei Xingfeng back. When they reached the middle of the bridge, an invisible pressure suddenly descended. Instantly, Jean Dia's hair stood on end. He felt that he had completely lost control. Bang! He fell onto the tree trunk. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. Just as he was about to put him into the mirror world, he heard Jean Dia shout, "Don't move! Wait!" This was for Lei Xingfeng to hear. He seemed to have grasped something. Lei Xingfeng and Wu Yang stood still. Jean Dia quickly put away Lei Yin and canceled his defense. Then he slowly stood up and walked to the other side. As he walked, he shouted, "Don't use Yin Li! Just relax and walk." Seeing Jean Dia walk to the other side, everyone cheered. Lei Xingfeng said thoughtfully, "I understand." Then he put away Lei Yin, canceled his defense, and walked over. Soon, Lei Xingfeng and Wu Yang reached the other side. Wu Yang said, "What a pity." Lei Xingfeng, of course, understood what Wu Yang meant. He felt pity for the people who died before him. He didn't know what happened to this crack, but it restricted the power of cultivators. If they flew, they would be courting death. Lei Xingfeng sighed. Without the tree bridge, none of us can cross. Wu Yang said, "Not necessarily. If you have the strength of a Dao Lord, you can probably cross. If it was me, I have an 80% chance of crossing." Feng Qinzong also walked over. If a Dao Lord can do it, it should be possible to use a hidden gate. Lei Xingfeng said gloomily, "We can just use the secret door. Why do we have to let others test it?" Feng Qinzong bitterly smiled. "I didn't expect this at all. How would I know it would turn out like this?" Wu Yang said, "It's nothing. In a place like this, it's impossible not to lose a few people. This is the price we have to pay. Of course, we just have to be more careful." After everyone had passed, Wu Yang destroyed the tree bridge with a single palm strike. Wu Yang said, "Let's go." Continuing forward, after another 10 days of walking, Xianfeng still continued to collect spiritual herbs. Along the way, he had collected a few dozen types, reaching a few hundred precious plants, which he kept in the mirror world and replanted. In fact, Lei Xingfeng also found a lot of mineral deposits. It was just that he didn't have the time to excavate them. He didn't even have the time to investigate them. So he didn't know what they were. However, he recorded them down, little by little. When they passed through the cracks in the ground, Lei Xingfeng saw some spots of light in the cracks. Some of them were even emitting extremely strong light. According to his experience, those were definitely precious minerals. However, he didn't have the time or energy to excavate them, so he had to give up for now. Finally, one day, Wu Yang announced that they would build an outpost here, and confirmed the location of the hidden gate. This was a stone forest area with rugged rocks of strange shapes, some of which were hundreds of meters tall. It was like a maze, surrounded by countless waterways. It was a rather secretive place. Wu Yang did not go deep into it, but at the edge of the stone forest, which was less than a few hundred meters into the stone forest, he found a relatively flat area to set up an outpost camp. Wu Yang said, "Confirm our hidden gate here. At the same time, build living quarters, set up an outpost, and arrange for people to be on duty." With that order, everyone started to get busy. First, they had to tidy up the ground. This was very easy. They were all cultivators with profound martial arts. Leveling the ground was very easy. Those huge rocks could be easily broken by even a sixth ring sage, let alone a ninth ring sage. Other than Wu Yang, everyone else had to do it. Even Feng Qinzong was no exception. After 2 days of work, the ground was leveled. It was an irregular piece of flat land surrounded by huge rocks. It was about 2,000 square meters. It wasn't very big. There were many small empty spaces around it. The big ones were 100 square meters, and the small ones were only 20 square meters. Therefore, the houses were built around the flat land. There were no buildings in the central area. Because Lei Xingfeng was a direct disciple, he chose a secret place. He went through a stone cave and found an empty space. There were no roads around, unless he went through the cave or flew out. This place was only 100 square meters. It wasn't small, but it wasn't big either. Jean Daya and the others built a wooden hut. Half of the space was covered by the wooden hut, and the other half was empty. At least some light could come in. Otherwise, it would be too dark. Lei Xingfeng didn't care about the quality of his living quarters. If he wanted to live well, he could just enter the mirror realm. When the outpost was finished, Wu Yang immediately opened the hidden gate and quickly sent away most of the people. Only 30 or so people were left behind to guard the place. Feng Qinzong quickly left the outer space and returned to the Dawn continent. He had to go back and give the new coordinates to Gucci. Of course, he wouldn't come back for the time being. His mission was to guard the Dawn continent camp. Lei Xingfeng didn't go back because Wu Yang asked him to stay. He was temporarily in charge of the outpost. Someone had to be in charge here. 2 days later, Wu Yang left the camp. This time, he didn't take Lei Xingfeng with him. Instead, he went alone. Lei Xingfeng didn't mind. After Wu Yang left, he immediately took Jean Daya and the others to explore the surrounding terrain. Of course, he couldn't travel far. He could only move around the outpost. The terrain in this area was quite complicated. There were mountains, rivers, and dense forests. The most common thing was all kinds of strange boulders. In addition, there were large amounts of spirit herbs. As for mineral deposits, they didn't find anything particularly valuable. Lei Xingfeng quickly discovered the uniqueness of this place. There weren't any threatening animals. He didn't find any large carnivorous beasts. There were only a few wolf-like beasts that posed no threat to them. Instead, there were many wild chickens, ducks, rabbits, rats, and wild deer. It was Lei Xingfeng's first time seeing some of the animals. In addition, there were countless birds of all kinds and sizes. There were countless rivers here. They were all small rivers. The widest was no more than 20 meters. The most common ones were a few meters wide. The water flowed rapidly, and the water was clear. One could see countless fish and animals like otters in the rivers. Other than a portion of the immortals who had to stay at home, most of the immortals in the outpost went out to search for valuable materials. Of course, they couldn't go too far. They were all within 1 or 2 days of travel. Because this area was relatively safe, the management of the outpost was relatively lax. On this day, Lei Xingfeng entered the mirror realm with Jean Daya and Mad Eagle. Tiger Love was still guarding the outpost. Lei Xingfeng wasn't there, so he was in charge of the camp. Wu Yang was nowhere to be found. There were no direct descendants in the camp. Therefore, when Lei Xingfeng and the others weren't there, he was in charge of the camp. When Lei Xingfeng returned home, Jean Depan had already set the table full of dishes. He was just waiting for Lei Xingfeng and the others to come back to rest and eat. During this time, Lei Xingfeng had found a large number of spirit herbs. Many immortals were busy replanting them. Others were busy building houses. The entire mirror realm was prosperous. Lei Xingfeng, Jean Daya, Mad Eagle, and Ishan all sat down. Jean Depan came out last. He carried a large plate of fried pancakes and put it on the table next to him. Then he sat down next to Mad Eagle and said, "Let's eat first. You must be hungry." The blackbird said, "Where's the bird's food?" Jean Depan didn't dare to offend the blackbird. He turned his wrist and took out a plate of fresh meat. He put it on the table next to him and said, "Go and eat." The blackbird spread its wings and flew down. That's more like it. Lei Xingfeng's greatest enjoyment now was to return to the mirror realm and eat Jean Depan's cooking. This guy's cooking skills were still improving rapidly. The taste of his food had far surpassed that of Lei Xingfeng's previous life. There were all kinds of strange dishes that tasted wonderful. It was definitely a super enjoyment. Although Jean Daya would reprimand Jean Depang for his slow cultivation speed, he was also infatuated with Jean Depang's culinary skills. They didn't say anything and just buried their heads in the food. Everyone knew that the faster the hand, the less the hand, the less the hand, the less the food. A single dish wasn't much, and everyone present was a glutton. If they spoke, they might not be able to get anything. Finally, the fried pancakes were served. Lei Xingfeng deliberately wrapped the pancakes with meat and ate slowly. He said, "Fatty's cooking skills are getting better and better." Jean Depan smiled with satisfaction. Anyway, praising his cooking skills made him happier than praising his cultivation. Jean Daya snorted, but he didn't reprimand Jean Depan. After all, they had just eaten his food. It wouldn't be right to reprimand him. Mad Eagle chuckled. "You're starting to get picky. Every time we eat outside, it's a painful thing. Only when we come back and eat Depan's food can it be considered a real enjoyment." Jean Depan said obsequiously, "Uncleing, next time I'll prepare some delicious cold food for you. No matter if you eat it hot or cold, it'll taste good." Jean Daya said, "What about me?" Jean Depan immediately said, both of you, both of you." Lei Xingfeng sighed. Jean Daya asked, "What's the matter? Why are you sighing?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "Actually, I want to find the thunderstorm area. I can't delay any longer." The pressure in his heart was increasing. The strong sense of urgency made him quite anxious. Suddenly, everyone at the table fell silent. This seemed like a very simple wish, but no one could fulfill Lei Xingfeng's wish. Ishanel said, "If you stay in the mirror realm, you'll never find a suitable place. Master, you still need to explore the outside world. I believe that there must be a suitable place. It's just that you haven't found it yet." Jean Daya said, "Yes, there might be a suitable place in the outer space. A foam, it's just that you haven't been to many places and haven't found it yet." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "I can't go far. I can only move around the outpost. Even if there's a suitable place for advancement, it'll be difficult for me to find it. Well, even if that's the case, I'll have to search for it once before I'm satisfied." Chapter 388. Jean Daya said, "I'll go with you." Mad Eagle said, "Okay, I'll go with you too." Jean Depang said, I'll stay here. Ha, I'll save you some trouble. Don't worry, I'll make the best food." Let's welcome A Feng back. Lei Xingfeng was still very touched. No matter what, even though he was a bit of a loner in this life, he still found a lot of friends. He never acted like he was the owner of Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love. He called them Uncle Jean, Uncle Ing, and Uncle Tiger. He treated them as his elders. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love had been protecting Lei Xingfeng before he grew up, although Jean Dia joined later. He always took care of Lei Xingfeng conscientiously. In the most dangerous times, he would give up everything to save him. Lei Xingfeng had no doubts about this. Lei Xingfeng nodded. He didn't say any words of thanks. They all knew what kind of people they were. Jean Dia smiled and patted Jean Depang's fat shoulder. Make more delicious food. Also, you're so stingy every time. There's only one small plate for each dish. It's not enough for us to eat. Jean Depang said helplessly, if there's too much food, it won't taste good. Don't you know that a small pot of food is better than a big pot of rice? If there's too much food, it won't be strange anymore. The black bird flew back to Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and said, also, don't miss out on bird meat. Caw, even if there's no star beast meat, make more delicious fresh meat. Birds eat wild ones, not domesticated ones. Caw. Jean Depang couldn't help but curse, but when he thought of the consequences, he held back and ignored this hateful bird. Lei Xingfeng was amused. He turned to look at the black bird and didn't say anything. The black bird immediately hid its head in its wings and muttered, I can't see the bird. I can't see the bird. Lei Xingfeng was amused and laughed. Although this blackbird was a bastard, it was still quite obedient to him. Thinking about it, even if he scolded this guy, it would still be dead. The black bird escaped a scolding, and it was getting more and more cunning. After dinner, Lei Xingfeng brought Jean Dia and Mad Eagle back to the outpost. Seeing Lei Xingfeng and the others come out, Tiger Love smiled and said, You're finally back. Lei Xingfeng asked, Did something happen? Tiger Love said, No, I'm just bored here alone. Mad Eagle took out a large wooden plate and said, This is from Fatty. Eat it while it's hot. Tiger Love stepped forward and took it. He smiled and said, Not bad. Fatty still thinks of me. Hee hee. It was all his favorite food, big pieces of red braised meat and deep-fried dough cakes. He knew how to eat them, so he rolled the red braised meat into the deep-fried dough cakes. This way of eating was very annoying, but Tiger Love liked it very much. He was different from Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng liked to eat vegetables, but this guy couldn't eat meat without it. Moreover, he liked to eat fatty meat. The greasier it was, the more appetizing it was. He was the so-called hardcore. Lei Xingfeng said, When Grandmaster comes back or when Junior Uncle comes back, we'll run away. Now is not the time. We can't leave at all. He was responsible for the safety of the entire camp. Although the task wasn't heavy, he couldn't leave. Jean Dia said, I don't know what's in this pile of strange rocks. It seems very dangerous. Mad Eagle said, Grandmaster said not to go in. I'm afraid there's something strange in there. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. He said, Could it be a forbidden area? Jean Dia said, That's hard to say. Actually, I have some doubts about this place. Lei Xingfeng said, What doubts? Jean Dia said, Here, have you noticed that there are no ferocious beasts here? It's very strange that you can't find any ferocious beasts. Moreover, the extraterrestrial starry sky has always been a dangerous place in legends. We haven't encountered any danger since we arrived here. It would be strange if there weren't any dangers in this vast forest of strange stones. Mad Eagle slapped his thigh and said, Right, no wonder I always felt that something was wrong. I couldn't say anything. Old Jean is right. This place is too strange. I think there might be some kind of forbidden area inside the stone forest. Hee hee, a Feng, Do you want to check it out? Lei Xingfeng was very hesitant. He knew how terrifying forbidden areas were. He had not advanced yet, so he could not use the mirror realm. Once he entered, he might not be able to get out. If he was unlucky, he might not be able to get out even if Wu Yang personally came to rescue him. Was this risk worth taking? Thinking of the various puppet beasts he had, Lei Xingfeng had an idea. He said, "We can give it a try. I'll use the puppet beasts to clear the way. If it doesn't work, we'll retreat." Jean Dia said, "Why don't I go with you? Old Eagle and Tiger will stay at home. It shouldn't be a short trip this time." Mad Eagle hesitated for a moment and said, "I think I'll go." Lei Xingfeng said, "Uncle Jean will go with me. Uncle Ling and Uncle Tiger will stay at home. If anything happens, Uncle Jean will rush back to report." Mad Eagle said, "Fine. Afong, you be careful." Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, you guys be careful too. Restrain everyone and don't go too far. This place is only safe around here. Everyone can gather materials nearby." Mad Eagle agreed. He said, "Afong, some things can't be rushed. If you feel that something is wrong, just retreat. There's no need to put yourself in a desperate situation." He had long seen that Lei Xingfeng was very gentle on the surface. He was not flamboyant when dealing with people, but he had a trace of madness. As long as he was not provoked, he would be fine. However, once he went crazy, he could be very scary. This was something that even Lei Xingfeng did not understand. His gentle personality in his previous life had brought him great benefits, especially after he had cultivated the thunder element. If not for the balance of his personality in his previous life, he would not have been like this. However, even with the suppression of his gentle personality in his previous life, the thunder element had still brought him many things. Madness, irritation, and other factors were hidden in his bones. Lei Xingfeng nodded in agreement. He said, "Uncle Jean, let's go." A small metal spider the size of a fist quickly crawled past. Its legs were extremely agile as it scuttled onto a strange rock. This strange rock was nearly 100 meters tall. The metal spider quickly climbed to the top. Its body turned once, and then it quickly retracted its claws. Like a round stone, it rolled down from the top of the strange rock. After bouncing a few times on the ground, the metal spider stretched out its 8 claws and continued moving forward. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia stood in front of a crack in the rock. After a while, Lei Xingfeng said, "No problem. Let's continue walking." Jean Dia laughed. Using the metal bug to scout is really convenient. You can already control it completely. Lei Xingfeng said, "A few hundred meters. Any further, and it will be a little difficult, especially here with rocks everywhere. However, with the metal bug, it's much more convenient. At the very least, we know the terrain ahead." It was already the 4th day. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia barged into the stone forest, relying on the metal bug to scout the way. Although there were bumps along the way, it was still considered relatively smooth. The deeper they went, the weirder the shapes of the boulders became. Furthermore, the paths inside were extremely complicated. Many of them were dead ends. Fortunately, with the metal bug to scout the way, the two of them did not go astray. There was no choice. No one dared to fly here. Unless it was absolutely necessary, they did not even dare to climb to the top of the boulders. This was because Lei Xingfeng had once reached a dead end. There were boulders all around, and there was no way to go. Jean Dia wanted to fly to a boulder and then climb over it. Lei Xingfeng was not reassured. He flew to one side of the boulder and stuck close to the stone wall. He directly released a metal bug. As soon as the bug stood up, it was hit by an extremely faint light. It melted instantly and fell from the boulder. At this point, Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were completely convinced that there was a forbidden area in the stone forest. The two of them discussed this matter several times. In the end, Lei Xingfeng decided to continue forward and retreat when there was no other way. They could only travel through the stone forest, so it was very important to scout the way. Lei Xingfeng controlled a dozen metal bugs to scout the way. Gradually, they went deeper into the stone forest. With the mirror realm, it was much easier to explore. When it was time to eat, the two would go back to eat. Jean Depang must have prepared a meal for them. If they wanted to rest, they could go back to the mirror realm to sleep. With the mirror realm, exploring was a pleasure. The first time Lei Xingfeng passed through the hidden door, he entered the extremely cold place, Hanya Castle. If he had the mirror realm, he would not have been afraid at all. When the cold wave came, all he had to do was hide in the mirror realm. This was a super shelter. Jean Dia said, "Afeng, do you feel your body getting heavier and heavier?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I felt it a long time ago. It's increasing bit by bit. It doesn't affect us much. Of course, we have to be careful." The fist-sized metal bugs followed one path after another. When there was nowhere to go, they would directly climb over the strange boulders. Because they were too small, they would not attract attacks. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia walked slower and slower. The main reason was that Lei Xingfeng had started to be cautious. Jean Dia's eyes were also serious. He said, "I don't know what awaits us ahead." Lei Xingfeng said, "It's okay. I left a mark. If we are trapped here, the founder should be able to find us." Jean Dia gritted his teeth. "Whatever. If we can enter the forbidden area, we might find something good." Then he suddenly laughed and said, "That's right. Your luck is heaven-defying. I shouldn't be worried." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but smile bitterly. He knew what his luck was. It was definitely not luck, but his eyes. Perhaps it was because of his thunder attribute, but he could see many rare treasures. It was not very useful for the forbidden area. The two of them walked slowly at the same speed as a normal person. Lei Xingfeng suddenly stopped. He said, "The bugs encountered something." Jean Dia didn't say anything. Instead, he looked around cautiously. The scene in the distance appeared in Lei Xingfeng's mind. A dozen metal bugs were stopped in front of an invisible barrier. Although they tried their best to crawl forward, an invisible force stopped them. They could only toss and turn in place, unable to move forward. Chapter 389. Lei Xingfeng said, "There's no danger, but we can't get past it. It's like something is blocking us. We can't see it." Jean Dia said, "No danger? Okay, I'll go check it out." He ran along the path. Lei Xingfeng was stunned, but he quickly followed and said, "Don't rush, let's go together." After many turns, the two quickly arrived at the place where the metal puppets were. This was a small empty space surrounded by huge rocks. Interestingly, almost all the puppets were gathered here, crawling back and forth anxiously. Jean Dia slowly approached and said, "There seems to be an invisible force blocking us. It's actually making it difficult for me to move." Lei Xingfeng also approached. He also felt a force slowing him down. When he came to the place where the force was blocking them, the force was even stronger, but it couldn't stop him for now. Gradually, Lei Xingfeng came to Jean Dia's side. He reached out and collected the metal puppets that were crawling on the ground. He said, "Let's see if we can touch the seal." Jean Dia smiled. "Okay, let's move forward." The more they moved forward, the stronger the force blocking them. Soon, the two arrived at the place where the metal puppets couldn't move forward. Unexpectedly, they moved forward a few steps at the same time. Lei Xingfeng thought for a while and understood the metal puppets weren't strong enough. So when the force blocking them stopped them from moving forward, these metal puppets could only go around in circles. In other words, Lei Xingfeng and Jean Daya could still move forward. The two of them were much stronger. As they moved forward, pressure came from all directions. Lei Xingfeng praised, "This seal is really amazing. It can't be seen or touched, but it can stop people from moving forward." Jean Daya's body was shining. He had already started to use his Yin force to increase his walking strength. Lei Xingfeng's body was also flashing with electric arcs. The two of them had unknowingly used a lot of strength. After about 10 meters, Jean Daya shook his head. "No, I can't take it anymore." Their bodies started to shake violently, resisting the increasing force blocking them. Lei Xingfeng roared, "Seal!" His Lei Yin emerged, and in an instant, a misty green light descended, and threads of purple lightning quickly enveloped him. Jean Daya also released his seal. Immediately, the two of them felt relaxed. They looked at each other, and Jean Daya said, "Continue." The two of them continued walking, and after walking for another 10 meters, they arrived in front of two huge rocks. There was a passageway here, and it was a passageway between the two huge rocks. However, even with the seals, the two of them were unable to withstand the pressure from their bodies. Lei Xingfeng said, "I don't know if we can reach that passage." Jean Daya said, "How would we know if we don't try?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "All right, I don't feel any danger right now, so we don't have to worry too much." Jean Daya nodded and said, "I'll be in front, you'll be behind." Lei Xingfeng shouted, "Charge!" The two of them seemed to be moving in slow motion, moving forward bit by bit. Their seals were shining brightly, and their Yin energy was quickly depleted. After a full 10 minutes, the two of them finally arrived in front of the passageway. They only needed to take one step to enter the passageway. Actually, this passageway was actually a crack in the rocks. Lei Xingfeng took a step and heard a soft sound, as if a bubble had popped. Instantly, his entire body felt relaxed, and he said in surprise, "Damn, we're here! Ha ha, ha ha ha." Jean Daya also took a step, and his seals suddenly shone brightly. He smiled and said, "Interesting seal. If we were a little weaker, we probably wouldn't be able to pass." Lei Xingfeng said, "That's right. I think this seal should be weak, and it's a little different from the seals I've seen before." Jean Daya said, "I don't know if it's related to these rocks." Lei Xingfeng said, "If it is, then we've gotten lucky. Wait a minute. I'll release some metal puppets." Jean Daya smiled and said, "I hope we'll be lucky this time." A dozen metal puppets landed on the ground, and these puppets rolled a few times on the ground. Then they stretched out their 8 claws and rushed forward quickly. Jean Daya said, "Let me go first." Lei Xingfeng said, "Wait a minute. Let's wait for the puppets to check before we go. It's never wrong to be careful." After a moment, Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Let's go." This time, it was really Lei Xingfeng's luck. There was a seal here, but it was the defensive seal of the forbidden area. It was only disturbed by the huge rocks, and its power could not be gathered. After many years, the blocking power was almost gone, and this allowed Lei Xingfeng and Jean Daya to take advantage and rush directly into the forbidden area. As they walked along the crack in the rocks, Lei Xingfeng suddenly pulled Jean Daya and said, "Wait, something's wrong." Jean Daya was shocked and said, "What's wrong?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Strange, why is there fog?" Jean Daya said, "What fog? You said there's fog in front of the passage?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yes, my puppet lost its direction." "Strange, let's go ahead." Soon, the two of them came to the other end of the passage. At a glance, there was indeed a thick white fog in front of them. They could not see the situation inside at all. Xian Feng and Jean Daya looked at each other, both of them dumbfounded. What they feared the most was fog, who knew what was inside it. Jean Dia said, "Why don't I scout ahead?" Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and said, "I have an idea." Jean Dia said, "How?" Xian Feng smiled faintly, and with a wave of his hand, 10 steel dolls were released along with 2 large spiders. "Let's use the steel dolls to scout the way. We'll sit on the large spiders. Hi, hey, this way will be safer." Jean Dia clapped and said, "Good, that's a good idea." Even if they lost a few metal puppets, Lei Xingfeng would not feel bad. If there was any danger, they would have time to escape. With the 10 metal puppets in front and the metal puppet, Lei Xingfeng felt safer even if they could not see anything. Lei Xingfeng jumped on one of the metal spiders while Jean Dia jumped on the other. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go." The metal spiders shook as they walked. They were too big and clanked as they moved forward. The 10 steel humanoid beasts in front of them fanned out. They all held weapons in their hands. 5 of them held extremely thick steel shields, while the other 5 held large axes. 2 of them formed a group and moved forward to explore. Since Lei Xingfeng was commanding, the metal puppets would not get lost in the white fog. Heavy footsteps could be heard from the fog. Jean Dia said curiously, "I realized, why are there no stones? Will we get lost if we walk like this?" Lei Xingfeng also felt that it was strange. They seemed to have entered an empty space. He said, "It's fine. I left 2 metal puppet bugs in the crevice. We won't get lost." With the help of the tools and weapons, Lei Xingfeng felt much better. At least he had helpers. It did not matter whether they were human or not. What mattered was that he could use these tools and weapons to achieve his goal. The white fog was very quiet, but the metal puppets and metal spiders under Lei Xingfeng's command broke the silence. The metal puppets were very heavy. When they stepped on the ground, they would make a loud sound and shake. As for the metal spiders, they were even heavier and made louder sounds and movements. They walked for more than 10 minutes. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were really bewildered. For more than 10 minutes, they did not encounter anything. At first, the ground was still filled with gravel, but after walking for a while, they could see that there were countless cracks on the ground. Soon, the ground was completely flat. It was as if the stone ground was endless. The two of them were a little confused. Lei Xingfeng estimated that they had walked for almost half an hour, but the fog still did not dissipate. Jean Dia said, "Why is this place so strange?" Lei Xingfeng said, "It's a forbidden area. You can't say for sure." Jean Dia said, "It's too strange. Why am I so scared?" He was also a veteran. He did not know how many battles he had fought and how many dangerous places he had been to. However, he had never been to a place like this that made him feel so uneasy. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "Me too. I don't care. If we turn back now, I won't be satisfied." The two of them discussed for a while. The metal spiders under them were still moving forward. Suddenly, Lei Xingfeng said with joy, "They're out. The metal bug is out." He could use the metal bug to observe the places it passed by. He realized that it had already left the fog. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia rode out of the fog on the metal spiders. They saw a huge wall. This wall was about 100 meters tall and extended to the left and right. Tall stone towers could be seen from the sides. The two of them were bewildered. What was behind such a huge wall? They could not see the end of it. When they looked up, they could see the top of the stone towers. Lei Xingfeng said carefully, "This is a complete forbidden area. We're rich, huh?" He could not help but laugh. The worst thing about forbidden areas was that they could not see anything. It was extremely difficult to find buildings. Most of the time, they were not complete. It was Jean Dia's first time entering a forbidden area. He did not know how scary it was. He said, "How do we go up? Fly up?" Lei Xingfeng said hurriedly, No, we can't fly." What a joke. The forbidden area definitely forbade flying. Whoever flew up would be unlucky. Perhaps only Tao Lords could fly, without fear. This was because Tao Lords had extremely powerful strength and could resist attacks from the forbidden area. They still placed the metal bug in front. It was not very strong, but it was enough to attract firepower. With it, the metal bug would be the first to block the front if there was any danger. Xian Feng wasn't afraid of anything but sudden attacks, but with the steel mannequin beast in front of him, he was at ease. Commanding the steel mannequin beast to follow the high wall, Xian Feng and Jean Dia sat on the back of the large metal spider and followed along. Very quickly, the steel mannequins in front of them stopped, and Xian Feng noticed that the high wall had collapsed. Radial cracks extended from the fog all the way to the high wall, forming a huge slope made of broken rocks. Chapter 390. Lei Xingfeng first commanded the metal bugs to climb up the slope. The metal bugs climbed up nimbly. After a while, Lei Xingfeng said, "There shouldn't be any problems. Wait a moment, I'll send the steel puppets up. These things are big targets. Once they enter, they will be triggered if there are any attacks." Jean Dia said, "All right, that's safer." The steel mannequin beast was extremely heavy, and as it climbed up the slope, it made a rustling sound. Seeing the steel mannequin beast struggling to climb up, Xian Feng spoke, "I hope there's something we need inside." There were 3 parts of the high wall that had collapsed. The largest gap was closest to Lei Xingfeng, so the 10 steel puppets climbed up along this gap. After a while, the metal bugs entered first, followed by the 10 steel puppets. Finally, Lei Xingfeng drove the 2 metal spiders to climb up. Although the spiders were extremely heavy, they had 8 legs and were quite agile. They climbed over in a short while. Lei Xingfeng realized that the scene behind the high wall was a mess. Most of the buildings had collapsed, and it was another ruin. He was very familiar with this scene. The last time he had gone to the forbidden area, he had seen most of the dilapidated scenes. The 10 steel puppets stopped not far away. As they had not received any orders, they were all on guard. As for the dozen or so metal bugs, they had already spread out. Their basic order was to scout. Without any orders, they would run around. Everything was withered. The buildings had collapsed into piles of rubble. Only a few stone towers were relatively intact. Upon seeing the stone towers, Lei Xingfeng's eyes lit up. He suddenly remembered the sky evolution crystal he had obtained in the forbidden area. That thing was very rare and was an excellent source of energy. He had obtained it from the tower back then. Jean Dia said, "I wonder how many treasures are buried in these ruins." Lei Xingfeng immediately laughed and said, "Don't even think about it. 99% of these houses are empty. Whether they collapse or not, there won't be any good gains." Jean Dia was stunned. He said, "How is that possible? So many experts wanted to come to the forbidden grounds, but they were all empty-handed. What's the point of coming here?" Lei Xingfeng said, "The forbidden lands here were probably left behind after they moved. There's a limit to what they left behind. We're just picking up scraps. We're just gambling on what they left behind. There are also some large forbidden lands that have some good stuff sealed away. Those Tao Lords and Heavenly Monarchs are specifically looking for those sealed items." Jean Dia said, "I'm afraid those things aren't that easy to obtain, right?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "That's for sure. The things sealed, there are usually the core secrets of the forbidden grounds. I don't think anyone has succeeded. That's not right. This is probably the reason why the Tao Lord has advanced." Perhaps a Tao Lord has succeeded, which is why he was able to advance. Jean Dia said, that's so difficult. If only this was the core area of the forbidden area. Lei Xingfeng said, stop dreaming. If it's so easy to enter the core area, everything would have been taken away long ago. It would be difficult for us to even find some leftovers, let alone a feast. Jean Dia was unconvinced. I don't believe it. Let's look around here. Hee, maybe we will find something. Lei Xingfeng said, let's wait for the little bug to come back. In the forbidden grounds, there are all kinds of traps and all kinds of humanoid beasts. The last time we went to the forbidden grounds, we obtained a silver humanoid beast and 6 gold humanoid beasts. If it weren't for the founder and the lack of energy of the humanoid beasts, we would have been done for. Jean Dia knew how powerful the humanoid beasts were. He couldn't even defeat a silver humanoid beast, let alone a gold one. He nodded and said, okay, let's wait. Lei Xingfeng drove the little bug with all his might. This place wasn't big, and the little bug's speed was relatively fast. Its 8 little claws moved quickly, and its speed was comparable to an ordinary person running at full speed. Soon, all kinds of information came back. Half an hour later, Jean Dia said, how is it? Lei Xingfeng said, the little bug is back. It doesn't seem to have found any danger. He looked up at the stone tower in the distance and said, it's just that the 3 stone towers haven't been explored. 3 little puppets went to explore and haven't come out yet. Forget it. Let's not wait anymore. Let's search this building first. Jean Dia said, isn't this place empty? Why do we still need to search? Without waiting for Lei Xingfeng to speak, the blackbird said, stupid. Even if it's empty, we still need to search. If there's something good, we'll regret it to death if we miss it. Gah, even birds know this. Don't you know? Jean Dia looked at the blackbird and was speechless. He was directly despised by the bird. He didn't know what to say, but he also thought that the blackbird was right. Originally, he just casually said it and didn't object to the search. Who knew that the blackbird would despise him? Lei Xingfeng couldn't stop laughing. He said, Bird Bude, you're getting more and more demonic. How do you know so much? The blackbird gave a proud caw and said, birds are smart. This bird is a super big bird with wisdom. This bird believes that this bird will definitely spread its wings and fly high. Gah! This was the first time the blackbird had said something like an oath. Jean Dia said, Big bird? Forget it. It's only this big. As he said that, he raised his little finger and made a gesture of the last knuckle. He meant that such a small bird had nothing to do with a big bird. The blackbird suddenly went crazy. It said, You can't hurt the bird like this. You're a bad person. You're disrespectful to the bird. You apologize. Jean Dia said without sincerity, Oh, well, I'm sorry, little bird. The blackbird said angrily, What do you mean? What's a little bird? The bird you see is a big bird with invincible wisdom and wisdom. It's a bird that's still growing. Lei Xingfeng was very happy to watch the man and the bird bicker. Jean Dia curled his lips and said, You're not afraid of the wind twisting your tongue. Just stay here. Other than eating, what else can you help a phone? I don't see any use for you. You're just a pet bird. The only difference is that pet birds can't talk. You can talk. After a series of sarcastic remarks, the blackbird suddenly went crazy. It cried, Gah. I'm so angry. Gah, I'm so angry. Jean Dia, big golden teeth, golden, big teeth. Even if you have a few big teeth, you can't be so arrogant. You're so angry. Gah. It couldn't breathe and was choked until its eyes turned red. Jean Dia's nickname was Big Teeth. It was just that no one had called him that for a long time. It was quite fresh to hear it suddenly. Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, Uncle Jean, you're really good at talking. You made the bird beaut angry. This is rare. Jean Dia said, That's because I didn't take it seriously. I'm ashamed to say that I actually took it seriously with a bird. Although the blackbird was randomly shouting, it noticed that it didn't scold anyone. It was extremely smart and knew that it couldn't scold anyone. It didn't matter how much it scolded. If it did, Xianfeng would definitely stop it and even punish it. However, it couldn't suppress the anger in its heart. One must know that it was of the lightning attribute and had a bad temper. It didn't have Xianfeng's ability to resolve the anger brought by the lightning attribute. It jumped on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and said, Who's taking it seriously with you? Gah, this bird just can't bear to see your big teeth. It made this bird panic. It couldn't find a suitable point to attack, so it could only attack him personally. Jean Dia grinned and said, I'm a human. I have teeth. Do you? The black bird squawked and was once again choked until its eyes turned red. Where did its teeth come from? Lei Xingfeng had to act as a peacemaker and said, Okay, let's not talk about it. Don't delay the business. The black bird immediately took the opportunity to come down. It flatteringly combed Lei Xingfeng's hair and said, Okay, this bird doesn't care about it. Jean Dia smiled and didn't pursue it. It was too ungentlemanly to continue to chase and beat it. After all, he didn't have much hatred for the blackbird. They just bickered with each other. In fact, this was one of the joys of being in the wild. The wild was too lonely. Bickering with birds was good for health. Lei Xingfeng said, Right, what did you say just now? I forgot. The blackbird said, About the search. Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, Yes. Uncle Jean, this is such a big place. We can only do a simple search to see if there's anything special. Jean Dia didn't move. He said, Afeng, you forgot. You still have a realm. Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood. He patted his head and said, Oh, I'm so stupid. The blackbird squawked. Of course, it didn't dare to say anything. There were a lot of people in the mirror world, not to mention normal people. Even the practitioners under Xianfeng were there, including a few disciples with good aptitudes. There were at least a few hundred practitioners, enough to search this land. Lei Xingfeng said, Well, Uncle Jean, you go in and gather people first. I'll send them out after we gather. Jean Dia said, No problem, I'll go. Lei Xingfeng directly put Jean Dia into the mirror realm and waited. He was not in a hurry. In this place, it should be impossible to see other cultivators. If Wu Yang was here, he would be shocked. In the forbidden area, there were actually so many people. Hundreds of cultivators participated in the search, divided into small groups. Except for the tower, which was strictly forbidden to enter, the other groups were all three-man groups. More than 100 groups were quickly cleaning and searching, looking for all the possible treasures that might appear. Lei Xingfeng, Ishanel, Jean Depan, and Jean Dia all stood aside and watched. Jean Depan was eager to try. He said, Afeng, let me go look. Jean Dia said, What are you going to look for? Jean Depan said, Look in the kitchen. Look in their kitchen and see if there's anything left. Lei Xingfeng, Ishanel, and Jean Dia almost fell down. This was a building in the forbidden area. This fatty's mind was still on eating. Jean Dia let out a long sigh and said, Go. Jean Depan ran out in high spirits. The blackbird said coldly. A ball rolled out. Hearing this, Ishanel couldn't help but take a step back. He would never provoke the blackbird and would directly ignore it. He knew that the blackbird had a foul mouth. Chapter 391. Jean Dia also ignored the blackbird. He knew very well in his heart that as long as he answered the blackbird's words today, it meant that he was ready to bicker. so he kept his mouth shut and did not say a word. The blackbird also glanced at him, strangely. It was strange in his heart. Why was this guy silent? That's right, this was a sign that Blackbird was going to bicker. Lei Xingfeng turned to look at Blackbird, amused. Don't cause trouble. Blackbird quacked, not daring to speak. Lei Xingfeng said, Manager AI, keep an eye here. If you find anything important, let me know as soon as possible. Uncle Jean, let's go to the tower. Ishanl agreed and got up to leave. Lei Xingfeng said, We sent out more than 200 steel dummies, 1 or 2 for each team. It should be enough. Jean Dia said, Yes, if it's dangerous, just send the steel dummies in. That's much better. It can reduce accidental casualties. Lei Xingfeng said, It's fine. Let's go to the tower. I have gold and silver dummies. They should be enough to protect us. Jean Dia smiled. Yes, as long as it's not some random trap, it shouldn't be too dangerous. Let's go. A moment later, the two stood at the foot of the tower. It was a stone tower about 150 meters tall. It was considered an extremely tall building. The entire tower was well preserved. Although it had been eroded by time, one could still see the beauty of the building. Unlike the tower they saw in the forbidden area, this tower was better preserved. It didn't seem to have suffered any serious damage. After walking around the tower, Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were dumbfounded. There was no door to enter. Lei Xingfeng said, Look around. There must be an entrance. In the end, they found a door to the tower in a half-collapsed building. It was a well-preserved secret door. Lei Xingfeng recognized it. It was an extremely short-distance teleportation. It could be activated by inserting 3 yin rings. Lei Xingfeng observed for a moment and said, Not only can this secret door lead to the tower, it can also lead to the other towers. There's another place. Uncle Jean, look. The logo of the tower was easy to identify, but Lei Xingfeng couldn't guess what the other strange logo represented. Jean Dia said, Don't worry about that for now. Let's go into the tower first. Xian Feng took out 3 yin rings and placed them on the door. As expected, after the last ring was placed, the door opened automatically without needing to be activated. Jean Dia said in surprise, You can do that. Lei Xingfeng said, Yes, it's best if there's a secret door in the forbidden area. We can go to many places, and it's very safe. We won't trigger any traps. This knowledge had been imparted to him by Wu Yang and the others. It could be considered basic knowledge. However, Jean Dia had never heard of even the most basic knowledge. His level was not high enough, and there were many things that he did not understand. Jean Dia said, Let's go in. Lei Xingfeng pulled him back. What a joke. Although it was safe to enter now, they couldn't be so reckless. He said, Don't be hasty. We'll use the humanoid beasts to enter first. Lei Xingfeng commanded 6 silver rank humanoid beasts and 1 gold rank humanoid beast to enter. Only then did he and Jean Dia enter the secret door one after the other. Almost instantly, they stepped into the bottom floor of the tower. It was pitch black. Lei Xingfeng flew out of Lei Yin and illuminated the surroundings. The 6 silver rank humanoid beasts had already surrounded the secret door at the bottom floor. This was a spacious area. The ceiling was about 5 to 6 meters above the ground. The area was very large. Under Lei Yin's illumination, they could vaguely see the walls. This was a circular space. Other than the secret door, there was nothing else here. It was very clean, and there was a thin layer of dust on the ground. Jean Dia pointed ahead and said, That's the door. Lei Xingfeng shook his hand and threw out 2 metal bug puppets. The 2 fist-sized metal bug puppets rolled on the ground for a distance. With a cracking sound, 8 small claws grew out, and they quickly scratched on the ground. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia followed closely behind. Soon, they arrived at the door. Jean Dia pushed open the metal door. Only a small gap was opened, and the two metal bug puppets crawled out. Lei Xingfeng stopped by the door and carefully received the information transmitted by the metal bug puppets. Seeing Lei Xingfeng nod, Jean Dia immediately pushed open the metal door. The two of them walked out. Indeed, this was also a circular passage. Lei Xingfeng had seen this kind of structure before. He said, "Let's go." After circling once, they could enter the upper floor. Lei Xingfeng stopped at the entrance and whispered, "A humanoid beast." "Yes, it's a gold-rank humanoid beast." Jean Dia immediately became excited and said, "Capture it alive." Lei Xingfeng said, "Capture what alive? Capture it whole. Humanoid beasts are not humans." Jean Dia laughed and said, "Anyway, it's good stuff." He had seen the power of a gold-rank humanoid beast with his own eyes. It was something that could even fight a true monarch. Of course, the more the better. Lei Xingfeng released two more gold-rank humanoid beasts. He believed that, excluding the silver-rank humanoid beasts, 3 gold-rank humanoid beasts would be enough to subdue the guardian beasts on this floor. The 6 silver-rank humanoid beasts rushed in first, followed by the 3 gold-rank humanoid beasts. Then, Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia rushed in after them. When Lei Xingfeng saw the gold-rank humanoid beast with his own eyes, he couldn't help but be stunned. However, he reacted quickly and immediately ordered the humanoid beasts to surround and attack. This gold-rank humanoid beast was slightly different from the ones he had obtained. The main difference was its decorations and appearance. This gold-rank humanoid beast was more luxurious and taller. The weapon in its hand was a long spear. As the 6 silver-rank humanoid beasts approached, the gold-rank humanoid beast turned into a flash of lightning and instantly entered the group of 6 silver-rank humanoid beasts. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia could only watch as the 6 silver-rank humanoid beasts were sent flying. This fellow's combat power was off the charts and looked extremely terrifying. In an instant, the 3 gold-rank humanoid beasts under the command of Lei Xingfeng had already pounced on it. However, it was obvious that this luxurious humanoid beast was faster. It moved quickly and dodged continuously. Jean Dia said anxiously, "This won't do. Why is this thing so strong?" Lei Xingfeng hurriedly threw out 3 more gold-rank humanoid beasts. Then, the Lei Yin on top of his head suddenly emitted a dazzling light. In an instant, countless bolts of lightning flew out and quickly formed a huge lightning net that fell down. With a series of crackling sounds, the lightning net fell rapidly. The lightning net wasn't used to kill the enemy, but to slow down the enemy's movements. Lei Xingfeng's current ability was already insufficient, especially in a place like this where monarchs could be easily trapped. Fortunately, the 6 gold-rank humanoid beasts were still able to deal with it. This luxurious gold-rank humanoid beast was so fast that even the 6 gold-rank humanoid beasts couldn't stop it. Therefore, Lei Xingfeng's attack was extremely important. The speed of lightning was always extremely fast. Even if the opponent was a gold-rank humanoid beast, it would still be hit by the lightning. In an instant, this gold-rank humanoid beast was slowed down. As long as it was slowed down, even if it was only for a few seconds, it would be finished. Out of the 6 gold-rank humanoid beasts, 2 of them instantly flashed to its side. The 2 gold-rank humanoid beasts' actions were the same. They hugged each other passionately. One of them hugged its upper body, while the other hugged its lower body from behind. In the blink of an eye, they were locked in place. Then, one of the gold-rank humanoid beasts hugged one of the gold-rank humanoid beasts that was still waving its arm. Jean Dia was dazzled. He couldn't help but sigh and say, "Damn it, If it were to come at me, I wouldn't even be able to dodge in time. It's too fast. Xian Feng spoke. That's right. This gold level mannequin beast's speed is very different. It seems to be even faster than mine. Jean Dia looked at the struggling gold rank humanoid beast and said, This guy? How should we deal with it? Lei Xingfeng had already come to the side and started to observe carefully. This gold rank humanoid beast was a little different from the ones he had obtained. Therefore, he had to find its weakness. Soon, Lei Xingfeng discovered that although this gold rank humanoid beast's decorations were different from his own, its core was the same. He quickly found the trick and quickly took out the core. Immediately, the gold rank humanoid beast stopped struggling. Lei Xingfeng was very experienced in reconfiguring the gorgeous gold rank humanoid beast. He had already figured out the settings and charging of the gold rank humanoid beast. Of course, he couldn't do in-depth repairs, but simple repairs wouldn't be a problem. He said, Done he? As soon as he finished speaking, the gold rank humanoid beasts immediately let go of their hands and retreated. This gorgeous gold rank humanoid beast seemed to be puzzled. It looked back and forth and immediately stood behind Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, It's done. I have another gold rank humanoid beast. Clack, clack, clack. Lei Xingfeng then remembered the 6 silver rank humanoid beasts that were sent flying by the gold rank humanoid beast. One of the silver rank humanoid beast's legs were bent unnaturally. It was obvious that the joints were twisted. The other 5 silver level mannequins had also suffered some damage, but luckily it wasn't too big of a problem. Xian Feng kept the 6 silver level mannequins and released another 6 silver level mannequins. These damaged mannequins, when he had time, he would think about how to fix them. Jean Dia had already started searching. This level was also very big and empty. At a glance, there didn't seem to be anything. Lei Xingfeng quickly ran to the side. He had already noticed the box at the side. It was very small and inconspicuous in the corner. Jean Dia said, What's wrong? What's that? He also saw the small box and ran over. In the corner, there was a row of 4 small boxes. Lei Xingfeng quickly opened the leftmost box. It wasn't big, 2 feet long and 1 foot wide. It was exquisitely made. Indeed, after opening it, he saw 4 grooves. To Lei Xingfeng's disappointment, the grooves were all empty. Lei Xingfeng cheered when he opened the next box. There were 4 grooves, and one of them had a Heaven's Divination crystal embedded in it. Jean Dia also squatted down and opened the other box. He said, It's full. Lei Xingfeng laughed. He opened the last box. There were 4 grooves, but only 2 Heaven's Divination crystals. He couldn't help but hit his hand and said, Smelly hand! I should have let Uncle Jean open it. Sigh. After saying that, he couldn't help but laugh. 7 Heaven's Divination crystals. Chapter 392. Jean Dia said, Good stuff. Lei Xingfeng kept all the boxes in his hidden Luan space, including the empty box. Jean Dia said, I wonder how many levels there are in this tower. Hee, if there's something on every level, we'll be rich. Lei Xingfeng said, Thank you for your kind words. Let's continue. Following the spiral path, the 2 continued forward. They used the metal puppet bug to scout ahead. This thing was very useful. Due to its small size, it would not trigger any attacks. After a while, Lei Xingfeng came to the entrance of this level. He continued to observe carefully. Soon he said, This level is empty. Saying so, he walked in. Jean Dia was the first to enter. Lei Xingfeng saw 3 gold puppet beasts at a glance. However, they were all sitting on the ground with their heads lowered. When Xian Feng saw clearly that it was 3 gold-level mannequins, he was so scared that his heart almost stopped beating. He now had 7 gold-level mannequins. If these 3 gold-level mannequins attacked, he wouldn't have the confidence to block them. Jean Dia also froze. He pointed at the center and said softly, "Teach 3 puppet beasts." Lei Xingfeng had already ordered the 7 gold puppet beasts to surround them. One of the 3 sitting gold puppet beasts raised its head. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia could not help but take a step back. Then, the gold puppet beast lowered its head again. Lei Xingfeng's mind flashed. He immediately understood. F***CK, it's out of energy. Sure enough, the 7 gold puppet beasts went forward to hold it down. Lei Xingfeng went forward and smiled. "This is a great deal." Jean Dia said, "Lucky, lucky." Lei Xingfeng quickly reset the settings and used the Sky Evolution Crystal to recharge. Once again, he received 3 gold puppet beasts. They were all gorgeous gold puppet beasts. They were quite different from the 6 gold puppet beasts before. The new gold puppet beasts seemed to be stronger. Soon, he found 2 boxes in the corner. Unfortunately, they were completely empty. Jean Dia said, "How stupid. If they go to the next level, we'll be in trouble." Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "This is luck." If the 3 gold-level puppets had not lost their powers, he would have gone all out. He estimated that he would have lost 1 or 2 of his 7 gold-level puppets. Now that Lei Xingfeng had 10 gold beast puppets, his strength was unprecedentedly strong. He was confident that if he encountered another 3 gold beast puppets, he would be able to effortlessly subdue them. 10 gold beast puppets gave him great confidence. This time, Lei Xingfeng did not release the little bug. Instead, he directed the 10 gold-level puppets to lead the way. He felt that victory was within his grasp. There was no need to be afraid. With 10 gold-level puppets, what was there to be afraid of? Even if there were 4 gold-level puppets, 10 of them would be enough. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia leisurely followed the 10 gold-level puppets. Jean Dia smiled and said, "Let's hope there's still 3 gold-level puppets up there." "Hee, this time it's just the gold-level puppets, and we've already struck gold. Whether it's for battle or protection, these things are simply too useful." Lei Xingfeng was beaming with joy. He never thought that there would be such a great harvest. Thinking about the other towers, not only did he subdue the gold-level puppets, but he also found 7 sky divination crystals. These things were simply too important. The sky divination crystals from last time were almost used up. This time, the 7 sky divination crystals were enough for him to use for a period of time. Moreover, there were still other towers that he could go to. Now, he understood that as long as there were towers, he would at least gain something. As for the other things, it would be best if he could get them. Even if he couldn't, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't regret it. The forbidden area wasn't that easy to enter. No matter what he gained, as long as he could get it, it wouldn't be a wasted trip. The 10 gold-level puppets quickly rushed to the upper floor. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia followed behind. In an instant, the entire space flickered. Then, a dazzling light lit up the entire floor. It was Lei Xingfeng's first time seeing a glowing wall. This was a huge octagonal room. In the middle stood a gold-level puppet. It lowered its head. Lei Xingfeng immediately noticed that it was different. Jean Dia also noticed the difference. He said, this gold-level puppet," as the gold-level puppet's head was lowered, its face couldn't be seen clearly. However, this gold-level puppet was covered in purple armor. This wasn't considered special. The most special thing was that its entire body seemed to be covered in a thick layer of crystal-like material. It was like a glass gold-level puppet. It was extremely beautiful. Under the illumination of the light, its body actually glowed as if there were colors flowing on the surface of its body. It had a strange kind of beauty. Lei Xingfeng was also a little dazed. What kind of gold-level puppet was this? Jean Dia pulled Lei Xingfeng. The two of them retreated to the entrance. He was alarmed. This thing wasn't easy to deal with. Therefore, he protected Lei Xingfeng first. Lei Xingfeng hurriedly controlled the 10 gold-level puppets and quickly surrounded it. At this moment, the crystal-like gold-level puppet raised its head. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were shocked. This wasn't a beast's head. It was a human's head. The long, crystal-like hair on the head originally looked like the hair on a beast's head. Now, it looked like crystal-like hair. Lei Xingfeng was really scared. If it was just a human's head, it would be fine. However, this face was actually a woman's. It was an extremely beautiful face. However, there was a layer of transparent material on the face. It gave people the feeling that they had seen a ghost. Things that were too beautiful were completely unapproachable, especially in a place like this. Such a beautiful gold-level puppet was completely out of Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia's expectations. The 10 gold-level puppets tightly surrounded the crystal gold-level puppet. Lei Xingfeng whispered, "What should we do?" Jean Dia didn't dare to speak carelessly. This situation was a little strange. He said she didn't move. Her head moved. The crystal gold-level puppet turned its head and looked at the surrounding puppets. The corner of its mouth suddenly twitched, revealing a mocking smile. Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, I saw her smile. Is she smiling?" Jean Dia said with certainty, "That's right. She's smiling. So beautiful." Even if it was a mocking smile, it still made people feel that it was shockingly beautiful. Suddenly, the crystal gold-level puppet spoke. Its voice was very gentle, but Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were immediately dumbfounded. This was because they couldn't understand what the crystal gold-level puppet was saying. Lei Xingfeng braced himself and said, "What did you say?" The crystal gold-level puppet said, This is Tong Yu. Who are you? How dare you come to Karam's garden?" Lei Xingfeng said doubtfully, "Tong Yu? Karam's garden?" Jean Dia said in shock, Isn't she a puppet? She can actually speak." Lei Xingfeng also reacted. She could actually speak and obviously had intelligence. This wasn't a natural person, but a puppet. How advanced was the technology needed to make such a puppet? The crystal gold-level puppet seemed to be a little confused. She reached out to stroke her hair and said, "Strange. Could it be that everyone is back? That's not right. It seems to have been a long, long time. Why did you bring so many strong men?" The gold-level puppets were strong men. Lei Xingfeng didn't know what to do. Should he capture her or continue talking? He instinctively felt that this puppet wasn't easy to fight. It was this intuition that made him not dare to directly give the order to capture her. The crystal gold-level puppet continued to ask, "Hey, why did you bring so many strong men?" Lei Xingfeng said, Are you a human or a puppet?" There was no helping it. This woman was too human-like. Whether it was her tone, expression, or actions, other than her crystal-like body, everything else was the same as a human. There was no trace of stiffness at all. The crystal gold-level puppet said, "Puppet? What is that? I'm Jing Zia. I'm not a puppet." Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood. This was obviously a homonym of exquisite. He was almost certain that this was the puppet's bad taste. However, he also had a headache. How could he subdue this crystal gold-level puppet, especially since she had intelligence? "Hello, I'm Lei Xingfeng. This is Jean Dia." He greeted her first. As for the consequences, he didn't have time to think too much. Jing Zia glanced at the gold-level puppets surrounding them and said, "Are you planning to attack?" Lei Xingfeng started to have a headache. Should he fight or should he not fight? He was a little embarrassed and said, Can we talk peacefully? He felt that he was too weak to say this. Jingxia's expression was cold as she said, "You are an intruder now." Lei Xingfeng and Jean Daya's hair stood on end. This woman's voice was too cold, as if she was talking about something unimportant. Although Lei Xingfeng was nervous, he was not afraid. He said, "Oh, what do you want?" Jingxia smiled faintly and said, "Catch you." Lei Xingfeng waved his hand and put Jean Daya into the mirror world. He also planned to hide in the mirror world, but even so, within a second, Jingxia suddenly appeared in front of him and reached out to grab his neck. She was so fast that Lei Xingfeng didn't even have time to react. Jingxia's expression was cold as she said, "Now, you are my captive. Any resistance will take your life." Lei Xingfeng also said calmly, "Are you going to kill me?" Jingxia said, "No, I don't have the right to kill, but I have the right to catch you. Come with me to the elders' assembly." Lei Xingfeng was stunned. The elders' assembly? This place has become a ruin. Where is the elders' assembly? An idea flashed through his mind. He originally planned to move into the mirror world in an instant to get rid of Jingxia's control, but when he heard this, he stopped. Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, I will go with you to the elders' assembly. Well, you can let go of me. I won't run away." Jingxia nodded and said, "You can't run away either." She spoke confidently because after interacting with Xian Feng, she immediately understood that this man was extremely weak, even weaker than the Hercules. She couldn't understand how he could command the 10 Hercules. Lei Xingfeng reached out to touch his neck. When his neck was grabbed just now, he felt that he was on the verge of death. He knew that if this woman wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as turning over her hand. She was too strong. He believed that even Wu Yang might not be able to protect him in front of her. Chapter 393. After putting away the 10 gold level puppets, Lei Xingfeng simply let go. He was confident that he could escape as long as the other party did not immediately kill him. After all, he had the mirror realm and could hide in it in an instant. Of course, there was a big flaw in using the mirror realm. He would come out wherever he entered. Only when he advanced to the monarch level would he be able to use the secret door to enter and leave from another place. Going up the passage, Jingxia and Lei Xingfeng walked side by side. Entering the next floor, Xian Feng immediately noticed a gold level mannequin beast, but it had already used up all of its energy and was sitting on the ground. Xian Feng reached out his hand and instantly sucked the gold level mannequin beast into his mirror dimension. Jingxia looked at Lei Xingfeng with some confusion and asked, "Why do you need so many strongmen?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "I like to collect them." Jingxia shook her head in confusion and said, "What's so good about collecting strongmen? They can only do rough and tiring work." Lei Xingfeng could not help but smile bitterly. Rough and tiring work, this was a battle treasure. Continuing to go up, Lei Xingfeng put anything of value into the mirror realm along the way. The strange thing was that Jingxia did not stop him at all. Instead, she just looked at him coldly. Soon, the two of them arrived at the room at the top of the tower. There was also a short-distance transmission door here. Jingxia reached out and touched the door. A layer of ripples appeared on the door, and the door was activated. Zhang Junya muttered, "It's strange. There should be someone guarding this place. Why is it empty?" Lei Xingfeng looked at her with some amusement and thought, does she not know that there are no humans in the forbidden area? Jingxia glanced at Lei Xingfeng and said, "You go in first." Lei Xingfeng didn't refuse and stepped into the secret door, followed by Jingxia. It was a small space with a secret door. Lei Xingfeng and Jingxia walked out of it one after another. In an instant, the surroundings lit up. It was quiet. There was a layer of ashes on the ground. It could be seen that this place had been very clean before. Jingxia was stunned when she walked out of the secret door. She looked around in disbelief. After a while, she asked, "Where is he?" Lei Xingfeng remained silent. Jingxia said, "That's strange. It's impossible for there to be no one here. This is the entrance of the Council of Elders. How could there be no one guarding it?" There was a trace of panic in her voice. Lei Xingfeng looked on coldly. He certainly understood why this human-like crystal doll was panicking. Jingxia quickly opened the door and walked straight out, ignoring Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng followed her out of the door. There was a small garden here. It used to be a small garden, but now it was overgrown with weeds and trees, which covered the original building. Lei Xingfeng stood there silently. In fact, he was ecstatic. He knew that this should be the core area. If Jingxia hadn't led him here, it would have been difficult for him to find this place. Jingxia ignored Lei Xingfeng and quickly flashed into the dilapidated building. Lei Xingfeng certainly wouldn't be left behind. He followed her in. He saw Jingxia standing in the middle of the room in a daze. This room was dilapidated. Several tables had collapsed long ago. There were also some bookshelves against the wall. Lei Xingfeng stared at the half-collapsed bookshelves. Because of the stack of black sheets on them, he knew at a glance that it was the Star Python records. Moreover, it was a stack of Star Python records. Jingxia muttered to herself, Why is it like this? Why? Lei Xingfeng slowly moved. Before he moved to the front of the bookshelves, Jingxia suddenly turned her head and stared at Lei Xingfeng. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng felt his blood run cold. He hurriedly shouted, "Wait! I have something to say." Jingxia said coldly, "Say it." Lei Xingfeng said, "This place should have been abandoned long ago. I don't know how many years it has been. You have been staying on the tower and don't know anything. In other words, this place is ownerless. Anyone with the ability can come here." Jingxia said in surprise, "What?" Seeing her become nervous, Lei Xingfeng hurriedly said, "Hey, don't be agitated. Don't be agitated. Calm down." However, a strange feeling welled up in his heart. Was this still a puppet? This was a F***king human, a living human. It actually had feelings. Jingxia gradually calmed down and said, "Say it. What's going on?" Lei Xingfeng suddenly cried and laughed. He didn't know the story of this place. He said, "Actually, I don't know what's going on. When I came here, this place was already like this." Jingxia stared at Lei Xingfeng. That gaze could definitely kill. Lei Xingfeng could clearly feel the killing intent contained in it. He hurriedly said, "Well, even if you kill me, it won't change anything." Jingxia suddenly smiled and said, "Then I'll kill you." Lei Xingfeng was greatly shocked. In an instant, a steel puppet beast appeared in front of him. Boom! After smashing the steel puppet beast with one palm, Jingxia suddenly found that Lei Xingfeng had disappeared. She quickly circled around the room, then went to the courtyard and ran wildly. However, she still couldn't find Lei Xingfeng. This person had disappeared into thin air. Lei Xingfeng emerged from his home in the mirror realm. Jean Daya had been waiting there for a long time. He said, "How is it?" Lei Xingfeng said with a wry smile, "That puppet went crazy." Jean Daya was suddenly stunned. He said, What should we do?" There were still a lot of people outside excavating the ruins. Once the crystal puppet rushed out, it would be terrible. Lei Xingfeng said, "The key is, I entered their core area, and I saw some treasures, but the crystal puppet went crazy." Jean Daya said with a wry smile, "So we're trapped." Lei Xingfeng said, "Yes, of course, it's not the time to despair. After all, I still have a lot of power. I won't retreat without trying. Jean Dia said, "How powerful is she?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Fast. So fast that I can't react. Unless you think about what to do first, you won't be able to avoid it." Jean Dia said, "Then how should we deal with her?" Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and said, "First, limit her range of movement." "Well, I have an idea. Uncle Jean, don't go out. Wait for me here. If the two of us go out together, I won't be able to react in time." Jean Dia's face showed a trace of worry. He knew the danger and said, "Okay, you have to be careful. If you find something wrong, come back immediately. We'll slowly think of a way." Lei Xingfeng nodded. Then his figure suddenly disappeared and then reappeared. Jean Dia understood that Lei Xingfeng was using this method to quickly observe the outside. Lei Xingfeng said, "She's not in the room." After saying that, he disappeared again. When he reappeared in the room, the surroundings were silent. Lei Xingfeng didn't hesitate to pounce on the bookshelf. He saw a stack of Star Python records earlier. How could he let go of it? There were more than 10 Star Python records. The Star Python records were very hard, very thin, and could withstand the erosion of time. It was the best recording tool. Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to look carefully and directly put the Star Python records into his hidden Luin space. Without hesitation, he released 10 silver and 10 gold level puppets. Lei Xingfeng commanded them to quickly rush out of the door. He hid behind them and then continuously threw out steel puppets and metal spiders. Lei Xingfeng's plan was very simple. He would use these messy puppets and metal spiders to block Jing Zia's attack path. The appearance of the steel puppets in the courtyard immediately alarmed the chaotic Jing Zia. With a shout, she rushed over. Lei Xingfeng ordered the puppets to hold her back. The silver-level puppets hid behind the steel puppets and began to launch harassing attacks. The gold-level puppets' mission was even simpler. That was to save the steel puppets that were bound to die. At the very least, they wouldn't let the steel puppets shatter immediately. Suddenly, the entire small garden was filled with smoke and dust. It was like a pot of boiling soup. Lei Xingfeng quickly rushed towards the room where the secret door was. He had to leave this place. One must know that Lei Xingfeng's subordinates were all outside. If they were discovered by the crystal puppets, he wouldn't be able to bear the loss. Even if he had to give up all his puppets, Lei Xingfeng wouldn't hesitate to abandon them. Although the steel puppets were extremely hard and had thick skin, they still couldn't withstand a full-force attack from Jing Zia. Bang! 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 Every punch and kick from Jing Zia destroyed a steel puppet. The silver-level puppets quickly moved around, relying on the steel puppets and metal spiders to block them. They didn't dare to fight head-on. Instead, they dodged back and forth and attacked whenever they had the chance. If they couldn't hit their target, they would immediately disperse. The gold-level puppets were the same. Even so, they couldn't stop Jing Zia. Lei Xingfeng relied on the numerous puppets to block them and was about to reach the room where the secret door was teleported. At this time, Jing Zia's gaze was fixed on him. "You, stop." Lei Xingfeng felt his scalp go numb. He raised his hand and shot out a thick bolt of lightning. Jing Zia's body emitted a brilliant light and instantly turned into a transparent crystal. When the lightning struck her body, countless electric arcs flickered and crackled. When the lightning stopped, color returned to her body. She coldly said, "It's useless." However, Lei Xingfeng found that it was useful, because when the lightning struck her body, she stopped moving. Although the lightning couldn't hurt her, it could stop her from moving. This was the greatest effect. Without hesitation, he shot out another bolt of lightning. Lei Xingfeng summoned his Lei Yin and tried to attack with the Chaos Wheel. Lei Xingfeng rarely used the chaos wheel. This was because he had a group of puppets to fight. This time, he didn't dare to hold back. The chaos wheel slashed out with a bolt of lightning and instantly struck Jingzia's head. Bang! The huge impact sent Jingzia flying. Seeing her fall to the ground, the steel, silver, and gold-level puppets rushed up and crazily pressed on top of her. Lei Xingfeng turned around and rushed to the room. He had to leave through the secret door, or else he would be trapped here. Boom! The metal shards, along with the silver and gold-level mannequins, flew into the air. In an instant, a shadow flashed. Xian Feng had unhesitatingly shot out a bolt of lightning. This was his prediction. As expected, not far away from him, Jingzia appeared, stunned by the lightning. Chapter 394. Lei Xingfeng exerted force in his legs and abruptly retreated. Another group of humanoid beast puppets surrounded her and beat her up. However, Jingzia's defense was too abnormal. Even if they beat her up like this, she wasn't injured at all. However, Lei Xingfeng soon discovered a problem. Originally, Jingzia could shatter a steel humanoid beast with a single punch. If she attacked with all her strength, she could instantly destroy a silver humanoid beast. However, after a few minutes of fierce fighting, she had destroyed more than 30 steel humanoid beasts and 2 silver humanoid beasts. Her attack power had clearly decreased. Lei Xingfeng suddenly realized that this crystal humanoid beast should have run out of energy. After this fierce battle, most of her energy had been consumed. He understood that Jingzia originally didn't have enough energy. After such a fierce battle, she couldn't launch a more powerful attack with her remaining energy. Overjoyed, Lei Xingfeng released all of his silver and gold humanoid beasts. He didn't want to injure the enemy, but only wanted to consume her remaining energy. Jingzia seemed to have also reacted. She stopped tangling with the humanoid beasts and continuously pounced on Lei Xingfeng. Unfortunately, due to the lack of energy, her originally flickering figure was completely exposed. This gave Lei Xingfeng an opportunity to strike her with lightning from time to time. As long as he could delay her and consume her energy, Jingzia wouldn't be able to get close to Lei Xingfeng. Moreover, Lei Xingfeng could still use the chaos wheel. The chaos wheel couldn't injure Jingzia, but the huge kinetic energy of the chaos wheel could push her away, making it impossible for her to pose a threat to Lei Xingfeng. After another few minutes of fierce fighting, Jingzia's weakness was gradually exposed. Her figure became slower and slower, and her attack power became weaker and weaker. This time, Lei Xingfeng even let Jin Daya out. After Jin Daya came out, he saw Jingzia hiding in embarrassment. This huge contrast immediately stunned him. After a long while, he said, "What's going on?" Lei Xingfeng released a bolt of lightning and froze Jingzia, who was about to move, in place. Then he said, "You've been sleeping in the same place for so many years. When you woke up, you didn't replenish your energy. Of course, you'll become weaker and weaker." Suddenly, Jingzia seemed to have recovered a little. She suddenly pounced forward. At this time, Lei Xingfeng was talking to Jin Daya. He was also a little careless. Jin Daya happened to see it, but he knew that he couldn't block it, so he took a step forward and stood directly in front of Lei Xingfeng. With his back to Jingzia, his whole body glowed brightly, and he released all his defenses, intending to take Jingzia's attack directly. Although Lei Xingfeng's reaction was fast, it was too sudden. At this moment, his heart turned cold. A black shadow rose from Lei Xingfeng's shoulder, followed by a thin bolt of lightning. Jingzia froze again. The black bird said proudly, "Want a sneak attack? This bird won't agree." The black bird was smug. It had never helped Lei Xingfeng. This time, it launched a surprise attack. Even if Jingxia was frozen in place, it was only a few seconds, but it was enough for Lei Xingfeng to react. A thick bolt of lightning shot out, and then Lei Xingfeng grabbed Jean Dia and quickly retreated. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia broke out in a cold sweat. This was too terrifying. As the saying goes, a centipede dies but never falls down. Moreover, Jingxia was not a centipede. This fellow was a very high-level puppet. There was not much difference between it and a human, and its strength was extremely terrifying. If she had enough energy, with Lei Xingfeng's strength, even if he took out all his assets, there was only one way to go, and that was to hide in the mirror world and not come out. Now that there was an opportunity, and the other party's energy was not enough, Lei Xingfeng was not in a hurry to escape. He wanted to subdue this strange crystal puppet very much, especially since this crystal puppet had intelligence and could talk. This was too important. With this, Lei Xingfeng could learn a lot about the forbidden area. Therefore, even if Lei Xingfeng was scared and broke out in a cold sweat, he was not enraged. Instead, he patiently shot out bolts of lightning and then used the puppet beasts to continue consuming the other party's remaining energy. According to Lei Xingfeng's estimation, Jingxia would not be able to hold on for long. The puppet beasts advanced dauntlessly. Lei Xingfeng had already relaxed. He just kept shooting out bolts of lightning. The black bird also joined in the fun from time to time, shooting out extremely thin bolts of lightning. Moreover, every time the black bird shot out a bolt of lightning, it would cry out and make a sound. Then, a bolt of lightning would fly out. Jingxia was beaten into an extremely sorry state. She was completely different from her awe-inspiring appearance at the beginning. Because the last bit of energy left was about to be exhausted, Jingxia became more and more powerless. Originally, she could easily do things, but now she was completely powerless. Jingxia was finally unable to continue moving. She could only put the remaining energy on the surface of her body. Otherwise, her defense would be broken. Once it was broken, she knew in her heart that Strongman's attack was enough to shatter her. Stop! Stop! Jingxia shouted twice in a row. Lei Xingfeng's heart skipped a beat. He immediately ordered the attack to stop. His purpose was not to shatter the crystal puppet, but to subdue her. He also knew in his heart that once this fellow's energy was exhausted, it was very likely that she would shatter. Jingxia was flustered and exasperated. She shouted, "I will kill you." The blackbird said proudly, "Come on, Jie, come on. I don't even care about you. Jie." Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia did not speak. It was good for the blackbird to make sarcastic remarks. At least it could make her face reality. Because she had stopped attacking, Jingxia had slightly calmed down. She stood up shakily, and without hesitation, the blackbird shot out a thin bolt of lightning. In an instant, Jingxia's but fell to the ground. At this moment, Xianfeng and Jean Dia both understood that Jingxia had reached the end of her tether, a lamp that had run out of oil. The blackbird continued to say proudly, "What can you do? Jie, what's so great about you? Don't you feel embarrassed?" Bah! Bah! Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia couldn't help but laugh. This bird-bude was really a clown. If it annoyed people, it could really make the dead get up. Sure enough, Jingxia was so angry that she beat the ground repeatedly. She shouted, You are dead." The blackbird turned its little head 45 degrees to look at the sky and said, I don't even care about you." Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were speechless. "Don't even care about you?" That was really annoying. No one could stand it. The blackbird's poisonous tongue was getting more and more powerful. The blackbird successfully drove Jingxia crazy. Okay, I surrender to you. Lei Xingfeng looked at Jingxia in disbelief. She was confused by the scolding. Of course, Lei Xingfeng was ecstatic. He said, Okay. Jingxia continued, I have a condition. Although Jean Dia didn't get along with the blackbird, he also knew that Jingxia would definitely do something bad to it. He glanced at the black bird a little worriedly. Lei Xingfeng said, What? Jingxia simply said, Give this bird to me. The black bird was suddenly frightened. It cried, Jie, wow, you vicious woman. Lei Xingfeng also said simply, No, beauty is not mine. It just follows me. I have no right to decide where it goes or whether it lives or dies. The blackbird was immediately moved. It combed Lei Xingfeng's hair and said, Jie, I knew it. You are the best. Jingxia said, If I surrender, will I have the same status as it? She pointed to the blackbird and said, At this time, she was so angry that she couldn't care less about her face. Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, Of course, at least the same. Jingxia said, I surrender. Your name is Bud, right? Chapter 395. As long as Lei Xingfeng protected it, the blackbird would be extremely bold. Moreover, it treated Lei Xingfeng's shoulder as its nest, so it was not afraid that the crystal doll would bully it. It said smugly, Of course. Quack. Bird Bud is the name of a bird. Isn't it powerful? Quack, quack. Jingxia nodded. If I have a conflict with Bird Bud, as its master, you won't side with me, right? Lei Xingfeng said, I won't side with you, but I will see who is more reasonable. I won't allow you to make trouble without reason. Jingxia said, Okay, give me the sky divination crystal. As a doll, once it submitted, it would really submit. Unlike humans, it would not lie. Therefore, once it was confirmed that Jingxia had submitted, Lei Xingfeng immediately relaxed. As for the conflict with the blackbird, Lei Xingfeng was confident that he could resolve it. Lei Xingfeng had just obtained 7 sky divination crystals. He took out one of them, walked in front of Jingxia, and handed it to her. At this time, he was relieved and believed that Jingxia, who had submitted, would not harm him. Jingxia took the sky divination crystal and swallowed it. In an instant, her body gradually became transparent and soon disappeared in front of Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng said in shock, Invisibility. Jean Dia's mouth was also agape. He also understood that this was the legendary invisibility. If they were to fight, Jingxia would have sufficient energy. Just this bit of ability was enough to bury all of their people and mannequins. After a moment, Jingxia reappeared and said, Yes, this is invisibility. It is one of my instincts. Just now, I didn't have enough energy. Otherwise, you would not be a match for me. Lei Xingfeng nodded. I admit it. His honesty made Jingxia feel much better. At this time, Jingxia's gaze was fixed on the blackbird. The blackbird immediately withered. Without another word, it shrunk its little head and hid it in its wings, not daring to say a word. It was absolutely smart. If it spoke now, it would be a stupid bird. Bird Bud was not stupid, so it immediately began to play dead. Jingxia sneered and didn't say anything. It could be seen that she really hated Buddha, but she didn't have a chance to vent her anger now. Lei Xingfeng agreed with the blackbird's strategy. This guy was quite cunning. When it saw that something was wrong, it immediately retreated. When it had a poisonous tongue, it definitely looked at people. As long as the other party could not actually threaten it, this guy would definitely be arrogant. But if the situation was not right, it could stay silent all day. The blackbird is good at pulling hatred, but if it doesn't speak, almost everyone will ignore it. Lei Xingfeng asked, Karam's garden, Where do you store the sky divination crystals? Jing Zia glanced at Lei Xingfeng and said, You want to rob me? Lei Xingfeng giggled. This is not robbery. To us, this is a treasure. We are treasure hunting, Jing Zia said. I am only submitting to you. I am not responsible for bringing you to find the sky divination crystals, nor am I responsible for leading you to rob my house. Lei Xingfeng was still not angry. Instead, he smiled and said, Of course, if you are not willing, I will not force you. But think about it. You rely on the sky divination crystals to maintain your vitality. If the sky divination crystals in my hands are used up, you will have no choice but to fall into a deep sleep again. If you really use up all your energy, I think it will not be good for you. Actually, helping me is helping yourself. Jean Dia said, We do not know how to make the sky divination crystals. All the sky divination crystals were obtained at great risk. It had to be said that Lei Xingfeng grasped Jing Zia's weakness. She was silent for a long time before saying, All right, follow me. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were overjoyed. What could be more surprising than finding a guide? The two of them immediately followed him. They were really looking forward to it. They returned to the room they came out from. There was a short-distance teleportation door in the room. If an outsider used this door, they could activate it as long as they had energy. However, they could only go to a few fixed points. However, it was different if it was used by the people of Karam's garden. They had other coordinates and could go to places that outsiders could not go. This was also the reason why Lei Xingfeng had spent so much effort to subdue Jing Zia. Only she knew the real secret place. There was actually nothing in the ruins outside. With Lei Xingfeng's ability, even if the Karam's garden was opened wide for him to search, he might not be able to find the real core area. It must be known that many of the key areas were not on the surface. Instead, they relied on short-distance teleportation through the secret door. It was very likely that they were extremely deep underground. If one did not know the coordinates, they would not be able to enter at all. Jing Zia came to the secret door and fiddled with it for a while. Lei Xingfeng discovered that she was modifying the door. After a while, Jing Zia said, Give me a few yin rings. Don't tell me you don't have them. Lei Xingfeng took out a few yin rings. Jing Zia frowned and said, These won't do. Jean Dia said, These are yin rings. Why won't they do? Jing Zia said indifferently, The quality is too low. Do you have any yin rings of better quality? Lei Xingfeng took out a handful of yin rings. Jing Zia examined them carefully. She picked out a yin ring and said, Do you have any more of these? These were the ancient yin rings that Lei Xingfeng had obtained during his first treasure hunt. At the time, he had mistaken them for ancient gold rings and had collected quite a few. He immediately took out a few more and said, Is this enough? Jing Zia said, It is. I didn't expect you to have collected yin rings like this. They are much better than the others. As she spoke, she inserted the ancient yin ring into the groove of the door and opened it. Jing Zia said, Follow me and don't wander off. Don't say that I didn't save you when the time comes. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia were very obedient. The two of them obediently followed Jing Zia into the secret door. Jing Zia said, This is an underground storage room in Karam's garden. It is used to store all kinds of crystals. Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, This kind of crystal? Is this the sky evolution crystal? Are there other crystals? He very sensitively grasped the information in her words. Jing Zia said bluntly, Ignorant and inexperienced. You don't know anything. Lei Xingfeng was thick-skinned. Hearing this, he laughed and said, Yes, yes. People from small places have never heard of many things. Ha ha. This was a small room with a secret door in the middle. There was only a passageway without a door. Jingzia said, "All right, follow me. We will go to the storage room. There were originally guards here, but it seems that there are no more." Lei Xingfeng said, "Are there many people like you in Karim's garden?" Jingzia was silent for a moment, then said, "Very few. In the entire Karim's garden, there are only 5 people like me." Lei Xingfeng said, "Where are they?" Jingzia said impatiently, "How would I know? I don't care where they went." Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia looked at each other. Both of them had the same guess. Jingzia was probably left behind because she had offended someone. Otherwise, with her intelligence and ability, she would not have been abandoned. Since there were only 5 people like her in Karim's garden, it meant that Jingzia was very rare. Or rather, it was very difficult to create her. After walking along the passageway for a distance, Jingzia quickly slapped the wall. With a bang, a door slid open on the wall. Jingzia glanced at Lei Xingfeng and walked in. This room was very big. There were 10 gold-level humanoid beasts standing inside. When they saw Jingzia enter, they all stood up from the ground and bowed their heads in respect. Jingzia said, "Leisure, open the storage room." The 10 gold-level humanoid beasts immediately turned around and stood in front of a wall at the back. They all stretched out their hands and pressed against the wall. There was a loud rumbling sound. Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia watched as the wall moved to the left, revealing a space where many boxes were piled up. Jingzia walked to the pile of golden boxes and casually opened the lid of a box. Lei Xingfeng immediately went forward and saw that there were 4 grooves in the golden box. Each of them was filled with pale golden crystals. These crystals were different from the sky divination crystal. They were hexagonal and as big as a squashed egg. They were shining brightly and were obviously treasures. Lei Xingfeng asked, "What is this?" Jingzia said, "This is the best energy storage crystal. It's called the hexagonal crystal. It's much stronger than the sky divination crystal." As she spoke, she took out a hexagonal crystal and threw it into her mouth. Then she picked up another one and threw it into her mouth. She picked up the remaining 2 hexagonal crystals and patted them on her chest. Lei Xingfeng watched the 2 hexagonal crystals disappear. However, he was not heartbroken. There was a pile of such golden boxes on the ground, so there must be a lot of hexagonal crystals. Jingzia said, "There are 3 kinds of energy storage crystals here. The best one is the hexagonal crystal, the second is the Ilum crystal, and the third is the sky divination crystal." Jean Dia said, "What's the use of so many kinds of crystals?" Jingzia said, "The hexagonal crystal is the central supply of the large-scale restriction. It's the crystal that charges the entire restriction. The Ilum crystal is for personal use. It can be used to replenish energy. Well, you can't use it." Jean Dia asked curiously, "Why?" Jingzia said indifferently, "Your level is too low. Well, you can't use it at all. He still has some potential." She pointed at Lei Xingfeng. Jean Dia nodded and said, "You don't need to tell me. Well, what level do I need to reach to use it?" Jingzia said, "I don't know. I'll remind him when he reaches a certain level. Right now, he's too far away." Among the 3 kinds of crystals, the sky divination crystal was the most abundant. There were only about 20 golden boxes. The boxes containing the Ilum crystals were small black boxes. There were 2 small piles, so there were only 50 boxes. However, there was a large pile of sky divination crystals. Lei Xingfeng said, "We actually use the sky divination crystal the most. It's also the most useful." Jingzia nodded and said, "That is not bad. The heavenly divination crystal is mainly used by strongmen. It can also be used for long-distance teleportation. You are right about that. It is better to collect more. Actually, she could also use the sky divination crystal herself, but if she used the hexagonal crystal, her abilities would be greatly enhanced. This was also the reason why she had eaten 2 hexagonal crystals the moment she came in, and even hid 2 more. If the people of Karam's garden were still here, Jingxia would not be qualified to obtain the hexagonal crystal. Unless an important leader agreed, she would not be able to obtain the hexagonal crystal. Even though she had a lot of authority, she still needed to get approval. Chapter 396. Of course, Lei Xingfeng didn't know about these rules. Even if he knew, he wouldn't follow them. Even if Jingxia needed more hexagonal crystals, he would provide them. The crystal puppets were too important. In fact, Lei Xingfeng was very grateful to the blackbird. If it hadn't been for its pestering, he would have had to spend a lot of effort to subdue Jingxia, and the effect might not have been as good. He had to rely on the blackbird to anger Jingxia, so he had such a good opportunity. As expected, it brought him great benefits. These crystals were all free. Jingxia was very satisfied with the 10 hexagonal crystals she received. She paid attention to Lei Xingfeng's expression and saw that he didn't care at all. She didn't know whether he didn't know how precious hexagonal crystals were, or he really didn't care. However, she was very satisfied with Lei Xingfeng's attitude. She had a judgment in her heart. This person was not a stingy person. Following the orders of such a person was much better than a stingy guy. At least he wouldn't exploit her and not give her benefits. Lei Xingfeng said, "Well, if you need hexagonal crystals, just ask me. Here's one for you." He was very generous. This was not only because Jingxia was a high-end martial artist, but also because she was familiar with the era of disappearance and knew a lot of things that he didn't know. He had to treat this kind of person seriously, even if she was just a puppet. Jingxia was even more satisfied. She nodded and said, "Okay." She was very straightforward and very straightforward. Lei Xingfeng had always had a philosophy that there was no return without effort. Therefore, he was quite lenient with his subordinates. As long as he had something and his subordinates needed something, he would try his best to satisfy them. He was not vague about this at all. Jingxia said, "Do you want these strongmen too?" Lei Xingfeng suddenly smiled. The reward came immediately. He said, "Of course. Do you have any good ideas?" Jingxia said, "I just need to set them up." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Jingxia said lightly, "It's no trouble." As he spoke, he stepped forward and commanded the gold-tier puppets to line up. Then he began to reset the settings. As he did so, he said, "I reckon that when you subdued the Hercules, you completely extracted their energy source before reactivating them." Although Lei Xingfeng didn't understand what the first order was, he had handled it this way in the past. He nodded and said, "Yes." Jingxia said, "That's indeed possible, but you have to drive the strongmen personally. They don't have any autonomy, so this is the stupidest method." Lei Xingfeng was immediately speechless. He had no other choice because he didn't understand it at all. He could only fumble around to undo the restraints of the gold-grade puppet beast, but in the end, he was said to be worthless by Jingxia. Jean Dia said, "It's good that you can use it. We don't understand it at all." After a short while, Jingxia finished setting up. Lei Xingfeng couldn't understand how she had done it, but since she knew how to do it, he would leave the task of collecting puppet beasts to her. Jingxia said, "It's done." The 10 gold-tier puppets came in front of Lei Xingfeng and bowed their heads to salute him. They weren't under his command. Lei Xingfeng said happily, "Very good. That's great. Does this mean that they have the ability to act independently?" Jing Zia said, "Yes, you can give them orders and they can carry them out. If the order is not canceled, they will continue to carry it out. For example, they will guard this place. If you give them orders and give them authority, they will carry them out without hesitation until their energy is exhausted." Lei Xingfeng nodded. He ordered the gold-tier puppets to sleep temporarily and then put them into the mirror realm. Jean Dia said, excitedly, "With so many assistants, a phone, your strength has improved a lot." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Do you have a place to store cultivation techniques, or something like that?" Jing Zia said, "Yes." Lei Xingfeng was overjoyed. "Can you take us there?" Jing Zia shook her head and said, "I can't. I don't have enough authority. I can't enter." Lei Xingfeng was dumbfounded. He didn't want to give up. "What will happen if I force my way in?" Jing Zia said, "You will be destroyed. You are too weak. You won't be able to survive if you go in." "Well, I think there may not be any cultivation techniques you need inside." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Why?" Jing Zia said, "You are of the thunder attribute. There shouldn't be any cultivation technique of this attribute. Even if there is, it would only be a superficial cultivation technique. Although Karam's garden is considered a powerful sect, it isn't the most special. I remember that there is a sect that specializes in the lightning attribute. It is very small, but its strength is extremely shocking." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Where is it?" Jing Zia said, "They usually don't have a fixed base because they have to chase after thunder and lightning." "Well, let me think." Lei Xingfeng stared at her nervously. After a while, Jing Zia said, "I remember a place called the Magnetic Storm Mountain. That is the place where thunder attribute cultivators like to live." "Magnetic Storm Mountain?" Lei Xingfeng asked hopefully. "Where is it? Where is this Magnetic Storm Mountain?" Jing Zia said, "It's very far. I don't know how to get there." "Well, it shouldn't be possible in a short time. If you must find it, I can accompany you. But I can't guarantee that I can find it, and it will be very dangerous." Lei Xingfeng said, "No matter how dangerous it is, I have to go." Jing Zia nodded and said, "As long as you give the order, I will take you there." Lei Xingfeng said happily, "Thank you very much." Jing Zia said indifferently, "You are the master. You make the decision." Jean Dia said, "What other places are there to store treasures?" Jing Zia said, "This is the sect's secret storage room for storing crystals. There are other places, but I don't know if there are any crystals." Jean Dia said, "Let's go and take a look. It's best if there are some, but there is no loss if there aren't." Jing Zia looked at Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Well, let's go and take a look. It will be best if there are some, but if not, I won't be disappointed." Jing Zia said, "Then come with me." It felt good to have someone to lead the way. Through the secret door, they went to several secret rooms hidden deep underground. To Lei Xingfeng and Jean Dia's disappointment, there was nothing in the secret rooms. They cleaned them up and found a few more venerable strongmen. Lei Xingfeng had collected a total of 26 gold-level puppets, which were 26 venerable strongmen. After returning to the surface, Jing Zia took Lei Xingfeng to the other two towers to collect 4 venerable strongmen and some sky divination crystals. The people who were released searched the ruins for a few days, but they didn't find anything valuable. In the Karam garden, there were a few places that Jing Zia couldn't enter, and she didn't dare to take Lei Xingfeng there. According to her, those places were very dangerous and important to the sect. Even if Jing Zia had high authority, she still couldn't enter. Lei Xingfeng was quite satisfied with this harvest, especially with Jing Zia. This harvest was great. Jingxia's strength was one thing, but most importantly, she knew a lot of things about the past. It had been 10 days since they returned to the camp. Lei Xingfeng had been studying the stack of star python records. These weren't cultivation techniques, but all kinds of records. Some were about the terrain, some were about resources, and some were about the sect. Lei Xingfeng studied for a while, but didn't find what he needed. Of course, he wasn't disappointed. He just collected them as information. If he didn't get Jingxia, he might be disappointed, but with Jingxia, this information wasn't very important. Jingxia placed the records in Lei Xingfeng's residence in the Mirror Realm. Jean Dia, Tiger Love, and Mad Eagle accompanied Lei Xingfeng in the camp. Other than eating, the four of them took turns to go back to the Mirror Realm. The rest of the time, they were in the camp. On this day, someone came to report that the founder had returned. Lei Xingfeng brought Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love to the camp outside. Wu Yang was sitting on a chair, his face extremely pale. Lei Xingfeng saw him and asked in surprise, "Founder, what's wrong?" It was Lei Xingfeng's first time seeing Wu Yang like this. It was obvious that he was injured. Wu Yang smiled bitterly and said, "I was too impatient. Afeng, don't worry. I was unlucky this time. I was trapped in a forbidden area and almost couldn't get out. Fortunately, I brought some medicine. You don't have to worry too much." Lei Xingfeng relaxed a little. Wu Yang was very important to them. Their secret sect depended on Wu Yang. If Wu Yang was in danger, their secret sect would instantly become a third-rate secret sect. They would lose a lot of power. This was something the secret sect couldn't accept. Wu Yang said, "Of course, this trip wasn't without benefits. At least, I found my own way to advance." He smiled with relief. Lei Xingfeng said happily, "Founder, can you advance to Tao Lord?" Wu Yang nodded and said, "Yes, I'm almost done with my preparations. I plan to return to the Dawn continent. Afeng, do you want to go back with me?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Founder, I still want to stay here. However, I can't be the camp's supervisor. Let senior brother Xian Zhaoluan take over." Wu Yang thought for a moment and said, "Do you plan to explore by yourself?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "I want to give it a try." Wu Yang said, "Okay, but you have to promise me that you won't be rash and impatient. Also, you can't go to the forbidden area. You can't handle it there." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yes, I won't go to the forbidden area. This world is very big. There should be many places that aren't forbidden." Wu Yang said, "It's not just forbidden areas that are dangerous. The wilderness is also very dangerous." Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "I have a lot of gold-grade puppets. They're enough to protect me." Wu Yang nodded and said, "It's because you have a lot of gold-grade puppets that I agreed to let you go. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous for you to go to the wilderness. Moreover, no one would come to save you." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yes, I won't go to the forbidden area. I'll just look for some materials in the wilderness." In fact, he was preparing to look for the magnetic storm mountain range to see if he had a chance to advance. He needed a large amount of natural lightning. Moreover, he had already prepared all the materials for his advancement. Wu Yang said, "I'll be leaving today. Since you don't care about the camp, I'll call your senior brother." Lei Xingfeng agreed. Wu Yang then left the camp and returned to the Dawn continent through the secret door. 3 days later, Xian Zhaoluan rushed over. He found Lei Xingfeng and complained, "Junior brother, even if you ask your senior brothers and sisters to guard the camp, you can't recommend me to the founder." Chapter 397. Lei Xingfeng giggled and said, It's really senior brother. Hee hee, this place is good. It's safe, and we can get a lot of resources. Xian Zhaoluan smiled bitterly and said, You don't know how lively the camp in the Dawn continent is now. This place is too cold and cheerless. Xian Feng spoke. It's nothing much. I'm only planning to go out for a bit. I'll be back soon. Anyways, we all take turns to guard the camp. This time you came, you won't be next time. Xian Zhaoluan said, I know. Sigh, it's so annoying. I haven't gathered all the materials yet. In the camp in the Dawn continent, many enlightened masters have started trading. I've been searching for the materials I need all this time. Just as I was about to succeed, I was sent here by the founder. Jean Dia said, This place is not bad. We'll give our small camp to you. Xian Zhaoluan nodded and said, Okay, it saves me the trouble of building my own camp. Lei Xingfeng led Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love out of the camp. When they reached a place where they could no longer see the camp, Lei Xingfeng quickly released Jingzia and said, Where should we go? Jingzia carefully observed the surroundings. After a while, she said, This is still Karam Garden. We haven't left at all. Okay, follow me. There are still many dangerous places here. Moreover, with your level, the chances of getting lost here are very high. She directly looked down on them. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, It's because we're not familiar with this place that we need you to lead the way. Jingzia nodded. She didn't mean to be sarcastic. She just said it directly. She didn't need to hide her views. She would say whatever she wanted. After all, she wasn't a real person. She was just a puppet with intelligence. Mad Eagle and Tiger Love saw Jingzia for the first time. Of course, they had heard about her from Jean Dia. The two of them looked at Jingzia curiously and secretly praised the beauty of this puppet. Jean Dia asked, How big is the Karam Garden? Jingzia said, It's very big. It's divided into several large areas. I'm curious. How did you guys get in? I remember that the Karam Garden's defensive restrictions are very powerful. If you're not a true top-notch expert, it's impossible to get in. Lei Xingfeng said, This is the Karam Garden. Is this the core area? Jingzia said, Not here. The place you went last time is the real core. In fact, she was still puzzled. She couldn't figure out why the people from Karam Garden were no longer around. According to her memories, she had suddenly gone into hibernation. Someone must have ordered her to go into hibernation and abandoned her. Jingzia continued, From here, we'll reach the edge. It won't take us half a day to get there. Lei Xingfeng asked, Can we fly over? Jingzia said indifferently, Flying is forbidden in any forbidden area. If you fly up, the only result is to be shot down. Lei Xingfeng rubbed his nose and said, All right, let's walk over. Jean Dia asked curiously, Can you fly? Jingzia said, Nonsense. Do you think I'm a strong man? The biggest weakness of gold-level humanoid beasts was that they couldn't fly. Although their defense was amazing, their strength was incomparable, and their attack power was also very good, they were all humanoid beasts that moved on the ground. They couldn't fly. Lei Xingfeng said, What a pity. Jingzia said, What's a pity? She couldn't understand if there was no rhyme or reason. Lei Xingfeng said, I'm talking about gold-level humanoid beasts. Yes, they're the strong men you mentioned. It would be great if they could fly. Jingzia said, If the strong men could fly, they would consume too much energy. Therefore, none of them can fly. Moreover, the strong men's range of activity is mostly in forbidden areas. Forbidden areas don't allow flying at all. Even if they have this ability, they won't be able to use it. As they chatted along the way, Jingzia indeed knew a lot of things. The journey wasn't lonely. Soon, they arrived at the edge of Karam Garden that Jingzia had mentioned. She said, From here we need to, there's no need. The restriction here has completely disappeared. There was also a very deep crack in the ground here. It was completely different from the crack in the ground that they had seen last time. The crack in the ground here wasn't wide. The widest part was only about 10 meters. Most of the cracks were only a few meters wide. A large number of trees, shrubs, and weeds had already grown. Jingxia looked at it speechlessly. After a long while, she said, "The restriction has been broken for a long time. The self-cultivation mechanism has been completely lost." Lei Xingfeng asked, "What's the self-cultivation mechanism?" Jingxia seemed to be used to Lei Xingfeng's ignorance. She explained, large-scale restrictions all have self-cultivation mechanisms. As long as they aren't damaged at all, even if the restriction is temporarily broken, it will gradually repair itself. It's just like an injury. As long as it isn't a fatal wound, it will slowly heal. Xianfeng clicked his tongue inwardly. This thing was too advanced. It could even heal people. This wasn't a human, but a type of restriction. Of course, Xianfeng didn't know anything about restrictions. There were almost no restrictions in the secret sex inheritance. Only a few high-level practitioners could gradually learn and grasp them from the records of the star python in the outer space. And even then, it was a very simple restriction. Lei Xingfeng said, "When we passed through the crack in the ground last time, we were almost in danger. We were blocked by an invisible suction force. Later, we relied on a big tree to pass through." Jingxia said, "This isn't strange. It's a remnant restriction. However, it shouldn't have any destructive power." Lei Xingfeng said, "No wonder." When we passed through the crack in the ground last time, we entered Karam Garden. Jean Dia said, "Will there be any remnant restrictions here?" Jingxia said, "There aren't any here. I can feel it." She walked to the crack in the ground and checked it. Her figure flashed slightly, and she was already on the other side. She said, "Okay, everyone come over. Even if you fly, don't fly more than 2 meters above the ground. It will be dangerous if you reach 3 meters above the ground. Remember." Lei Xingfeng and the other two quickly crossed the crack in the ground. Jingxia said, "This is considered to be out of Karam Garden. If we go out from here, we will soon reach the Hanta Plains. If we want to go to the Magnetic Storm Mountain Range, we will have to pass through the Hanta Plains." Jean Dia said, "What dangers are there in this plains?" Jingxia pondered for a moment and said, "In the past, there were a few big sects on the Hanta Plains. They would send people to protect the entire plains and drive away powerful wild beasts. Now, I don't know. I think our sect isn't the only one that has declined." Lei Xingfeng's eyes lit up. He said, "Can we search for those big sects?" Jingxia said, "Don't even think about it. Those big sects are not simple. I think that all the restrictions in their sects should have been activated. As long as the energy is not exhausted, no one will be able to withstand it. I admit that I can't resist the attacks of the restrictions." Mad Eagle said, "Let's not complicate things. Our goal is to find the Magnetic Storm Mountain Range." Lei Xingfeng hurriedly said, Yes, the Magnetic Storm Mountain Range is my goal." Jingxia nodded and said, "Let's avoid the encampments of those sects and cross the Hanta Plains from the wilderness." Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and released 4 gold-level beast puppets, one for each of them as guards. As for Jingxia, she didn't need them. Her strength was so high that she didn't need gold-level beast puppets to protect her. Jingxia asked curiously, "Why did you release the strongmen?" Lei Xingfeng blushed slightly and said, "To be guards." Jingxia didn't laugh at Lei Xingfeng. She agreed and said, "That's good. With the strongmen as guards, we can avoid danger at the first moment. However, if we encounter a star beast, we won't have a chance. Lei Xingfeng said, if we encounter a star beast, as long as we discover it a little bit in advance, we can avoid it. Jingxia revealed a surprised expression. She suddenly reacted and said, you mean the place I went in and out is yours? It's very similar to the ancient mirror realm. Yes, it's the ancient mirror realm. You actually have such a heaven-defying treasure, and you dare to use it so openly? I don't know if you are ignorant or just don't care. You'd better be careful. The ancient mirror realm. If you were in our era, you would be dead. If I kill you, the ancient mirror realm will appear. You should have fused with it, right? Lei Xingfeng was speechless. Was this still a puppet? This level of deduction was really a little scary. There aren't so many powerful people in the current world. You think too much. Lei Xingfeng braced himself and defended himself. Jingxia shook her head and said, I believe that you are not standing at the top. As long as you are not standing at the top of cultivation, you'd better be careful and conservative. I don't want to change masters. These words were quite vicious. Lei Xingfeng sighed inwardly. He was despised, but he had to admit that Jingxia was right. There was really a problem with his strength. Jean Dia said, as long as we don't say anything, no one will know. Moreover, a Feng is about to advance. He has prepared everything. What he needs now is a large amount of thunder and lightning. Once he finds this place, his strength will increase by a lot. Jingxia wasn't being sarcastic. She was worried that with Lei Xingfeng's strength, he wouldn't be able to protect this kind of treasure. She said, yes, you want to go to the magnetic storm mountain range to find a place to advance, right? Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, yes, I want to take a look. If it is a good place to advance, I will be able to advance smoothly. During this time, I will need you to protect me. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love all said, a Feng, don't worry. We will protect you. Jingxia said bluntly, you will protect him? Forget it. It's better to have a few more strong men. You are too weak and will drag him down. Jean Dia and the other two revealed sad expressions. Jean Dia sighed and said, back then, when I advanced to 9th Ring Sage, no matter what method I used, I really felt like I could walk sideways, like the world was in my hands. Now, Sai, this world is changing too fast. Lei Xingfeng said, don't be sad. I always think that there is still a chance, especially in outer space. I always have a strange feeling that any goal can be achieved. It's just that we haven't found a suitable method. Jean Dia smiled and said, a Feng, you don't need to comfort me. I am just sighing. I am not really sad. I have long understood. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.